For tonight. This is the first episode since June 28th, 2011, our swan song at the Sports Talk Network. A night when we had Road Warrior Animal, Joe Laurinaitis, Gaylord Perry, and Dan Weldon on the show. Three great legends, all of whom are unfortunately deceased since then, but you're going to have that sometimes. But I, Rick Morris, managing partner of the FDH Lounge, I am here with close personal friend and fellow FDH Lounge dignitary Ken Becks, the proprietor of FirstDownScouting.com, as FirstDownScouting.com presents on the FDH Lounge the 2023 Pro Football Draft Show. We are here breaking it down a little bit later than we intended tonight. We are off to somewhat of a later start here. The Raiders have just made their picks, so we're going to catch up with what's happened thus far. We're going to talk about what is yet to come. We will evaluate as we're going along. Ken Becks, a pleasure to be here with you in the FDH Man Cave, and we will have
the Man Cave. I
yes,
like that.
And we will have from around the FDH multiverse. We will have some text picks and some other tweets to be sharing from some of our FDH Lounge dignitaries. I will try to manage what has been an awful cough allergy season the last couple of days. So while I'm struggling to keep my cough from getting out of control, Ken Becks, take it away. Opening thoughts, pal.
Opening thoughts is, I like that Rick's a real gamer, and the reason I say that, we put him behind the tent, gave him some IVs, and he came right back out.
That's how I roll,
He had to get
buddy.
back on the field, so if nothing else,
That's
you
how
gotta
I
listen
roll.
because of that.
Yes.
But like as you was just saying, we'll go into reverse mode.
Yeah.
But like you were just saying, Tyree Wilson just selected number 7 by the Raiders.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that one, real quick?
Well, I had him going a little bit higher. This is a guy who's really been a fast riser up the boards, and he's been a guy where the early projections didn't have him going in the top half of the first round, but he has been jumping up the boards, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, no question. Now, it was actually supposed to be between him and Will Anderson.
Yes.
That was a lot of the talk. Now, Will Anderson's already been off the board. We weren't here to talk to you about that, but we'll catch you up with that one. So, with the Raiders taking Tyree Wilson, I'm looking forward to seeing if they're going to use him at the defensive end or defensive tackle, or use him at both.
Could use him at both. And the Will Anderson thing, I know the thoughts are still fresh in your mind. You kept saying, what did they do? What? So, elaborate, please.
Well, I'm a little bit out the box type evaluator, first of all. I think Rick knows that, anybody that knows me.
Yes.
And I will get into the specifics of where I think he should play down the road as you follow and listen to us a little bit later. But for right now, the selection of Will Anderson, I didn't even have him going in the first round. We'll talk about that later. That's what they call that in the industry.
That is a tease.
That's a tease.
Yes.
But I do like Will Anderson. He has good consistency, production, that type of thing. I just think where they took him, what was it, number 2, number 3?
Number 3.
Wow. I tell you, I could have never imagined something like this as far as if I was in the GM seat. But, hey, I'm not the GM, and we got to go with what they roll with.
Well, it's one of those things where, again, looked like they gave us the old okey doke here, taking Stroud at 2. Like, oh, it was just a bluff about wanting to get a defensive player.
So
and then they moved to 3.
Yeah. So much for S2 testing, right?
Well, sure, yeah. Well, and that takes us back. I told you I had something from the old Sports Talk Network days. I'm going to bring this up. 2006. Right. So we're talking about this. That was the year. Do you remember with Vince Young, with his Wonderlic at the time?
Yes.
I think he had it was a Wonderlic score of like 13. So I remember at the time, at the station, a couple of us were talking about this. I took a Wonderlic test. I scored a 39. So I went on air and I said, so apparently, pardon me,
now,
I'm 3 times.
What did Vince get?
Vince got 13. He
Well,
got 13
times.
I had 39. I said, so I'm 3 times smarter and 1/3 as fast. So that's
so that balances it out.
That's the comparison of me and Vince Young. Yes.
So is that like making a pizza? You got to dough it out. And
that's right. That's right.
That's
That's right.
But no, so recapping so far, what do you think about Bryce at number 1?
That was the expected thing. That was the chalk pick.
Yeah.
We saw it coming.
Yeah.
But again, that at 2, that's where it started to get a little bit interesting with Stroud going there. And I said to you, it was very interesting. The rest of the world souring on him, at a time when I finally, after the Peach Bowl had come around on him. Because to me, he'd never been a big, pardon me, a big game player until the Peach Bowl.
Right, right.
Peach Bowl, he showed it.
Versus Georgia, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as they started talking about the S2 and all, which I had never heard of before, other than the Wonderlic.
It's the newest version. Yeah.
But so the first thing that came to my mind is when they brought up about the S2 and his value dropping. I'm thinking, did they watch him in the Peach Bowl? 350 yards, 4 touchdowns,
Exactly.
0 interceptions.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't his fault that they lost.
That's literally the
in
only
my
game
mind.
I've ever seen him be a big time, quarterback. I mean, I'd seen him be a big time quarterback against the likes of like Maryland and whatever,
Right,
but you're
right,
supposed
right.
to be.
That's the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You know how that is.
Yeah, you're supposed to be in those games.
Yeah.
But it was really a strong outing there, and it's just so funny that the rest of the world seems to be kind of souring on. That's the nature of silly season, though. Silly season is where, everybody's like, I don't know if I like this. The funny thing is that for as much as I was down on the Browns when they traded for Deshaun Watson because of the issues surrounding him, I was the one guy pounding my fist in 2017 for them to take him. And I remember at the time, it was one of these things where one of the criticisms about him, and I'd literally never heard this before, but like in baseball, when they talk about like putting the radar gun on somebody, I saw people who are like, well, I don't know, he didn't score so good on the radar gun. I'm like, this isn't baseball. Since when did we start doing that?
Exactly.
Like, people will invent anything. They'll pull anything out of their ass to ding, generally to ding a guy. Sometimes to boost a guy, but generally to ding a guy.
Well, with the Deshaun Watson going back when he came out, I wasn't as high on him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, as an evaluator, that's a learning process. He did seem like a gamer. To me, it seemed like at times he was hesitating with his throws, certain
Right.
little things, But when he got into the pros, it seemed like all that went away.
It did.
And after I looked at the tape, because whenever something like that comes up, you want to review,
Sure.
see if you see anything you didn't see. And the main thing I liked about him was his poise.
Yes, you got to like that.
And that's one thing that never usually leaves, whether you're at the college level, NFL level, whatever. So, and that's one thing I will say, like with Bryce Young, getting back to the quarterback and some of the selections. With Bryce, whoa, we got a big one, Bijan Robinson.
Whoa, going to
Bijan
ATL.
Robinson.
How about that?
Now, we couldn't have predicted the top 10, but to Atlanta, that's a good thing. I mean, they got the tight end from the other.
Well, egg on my face. I had him going much later and being a value for Buffalo.
Same here.
By the way, in Pro Football Draftology 2023, available on the main page at fantasydrafthelp.com. Go get it. We've got our copies of it that we're staring down amongst other things here. And I had him going much lower. And again, Atlanta being a franchise with a history at various times of great running back play, they are clearly counting on him to be the next big thing down there. And why not? I think he could be.
Well, one thing I will say, I can't tell you off the top of my head who the GM is with Atlanta, but the one thing we can say, he's bold.
He is.
He
He's
took
absolutely
the
bold.
tight end last year. Not your conventional guy that's going to be a blocker, but he's a game changer type
Right.
once you get the ball in his hands. Now, we got to go back.
That's right.
We got the running back, we got the tight end, we got a couple other things.
Yeah.
What about the quarterback?
Well, still got to solve that one there, and that's where do you ride another year with Ritter? I mean, that's a tough way to go.
Speaking of the Bijan pick now, so you got Bijan, okay. Now, if you go with the quarterback another year, that takes a year off Bijan.
It does.
So my thing is, if you take a selection like this, they must be all in with the quarterback. They better be, because
Can they possibly be? Is this possible?
I mean, at this point, unless they make a major move,
Well,
they're giving up some a year.
I don't see it, but and that's the whole thing too. Is that if you are the coaching staff down there, like, it really takes a lot of stones to be in a situation where you're going to look at it and you're going to say, well, it's okay. We'll just wait until next year on that, because the number of years that you think you're going to have as a head coach going into a season, I'm sure Freddie Kitchens, for example, thought he had more than one season when he became Browns coach.
You remember this T-shirt?
I do.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
do. Oh my God, yeah, that guy. And what was his excuse? My daughter's got it for me, so I had to.
Yeah, that
You
didn't
know,
turn
like,
out too good.
if you don't know that some Wookie Lou is going to go put that up on social media, I don't know what your issue is.
These days,
Yeah,
this isn't the '70s. Everybody's got a smartphone now.
right. Oh man, this is just.
Is
Yeah.
this draft going any kind of way you would have thought?
No, I mean it's a thing where, again, you just were like flabbergasted when we were talking off air. Houston picking at 2 and 3, and it just was a
I
thing
mean,
of
that
like,
just
you know, what were they thinking is what you kept asking over and
Now-
over again,
now-
and I think you're still in that place.
Let's say you take your quarterback, okay, and then you do something like you take a Bijan or a Pitts.
Yeah,
That if there was a Pitts this year, then you go, okay, I can see the connection.
right.
Now, I'm not trying to put, who was it, Anderson?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to put him down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a good quality, solid defensive guy. Put it this way: if you have a good defense going into the playoffs, I think he's like your second, third guy on a good defense.
I do think higher of him than you and our FDH senior editor Jason Jones, and that is a thing where he said that not picking Anderson at 2, I love trading up at 3 to get him. I don't. It's a decent pick disregarding value. If he plays linebacker, feels a bit like Cleveland taking Vontae Mack no matter what in draft day.
Ooh, I love my man
Jason Jones
Jason.
with the draft day reference.
Well, a little full disclosure here. Me
Yeah.
and Jason were talking off air, and I'll just throw it out there right now that I had him at inside linebacker. I have him at a projection now. Before everybody gasps.
The nice thing about being on a live stream is people can see how big my eyes got when you said that.
Well,
Inside linebacker.
I'm gonna pitch it.
You're
to
a creative
you.
guy.
I'm gonna pitch it.
You're
to you.
you're a super creative guy, Scout.
Now here's the thing.
Yeah.
We got Will Anderson, 6'4",
Yeah.
235, running a 4.58.
Yeah.
Well, conventionally, unless you're somebody that's a Superman, 6'4", 235 ain't gonna hold up too good at defensive end.
Okay.
Now, that was pretty decent at the college level. The production's there, but he's not going to be going against 6'7", 330-pound tackles.
Can
every
we
day.
say charitably that
I
he
like
just
that
had a
word.
bad? Thank you. I mean that maybe his timing at the combine wasn't so great. Now again, that comes back to preparation. Like, why would you show up? Not necessarily
I'm glad
the
you
best
brought
shape.
that up,
Yeah,
actually, because the tape says otherwise.
that's what I'm saying.
The
I go by the tape.
No, what I mean, the tape says he does run a 4.58.
I don't. He looks faster to me. I don't know. But then again, I'm not the scout.
You know what?
I'm not the guy that sits there and will snap
laughing,
the
but
whistle.
I'm not laughing at
Okay.
my thing is he looks like a put it this way, when he was isolated in space,
Mm-hmm.
I have to project. First of all, he's got to beat that offensive tackle with the longer arms.
Right.
Okay. Then I got to go, okay, well, how's he going to defeat that? Because he doesn't have the longest arms. He's not the tallest guy. He doesn't have great technique with his arms.
Right.
So now we got a little issue.
Right.
Okay, so now he's not getting the momentum into the offensive tackle. So I said, okay, well, where else can we move him? Can we move him at defensive tackle?
Right.
I don't think we can do that, Rick. So I said, what about outside linebacker? Well, now we're going with the isolation in space again.
Okay.
His athleticism just doesn't provide that type of thing. So I'm going, okay, if I'm a coach, where am I going to put him?
Right.
And, at 6'4", 235 pounds, that 4.58 ain't as big of a issue,
Right.
okay? Now, we know he's tough. At the point of attack, he's good. For pound for pound, at the point of attack, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
That can convert inside where the toughness and grittiness and tenacity would be excellent. And he does have a good knack for getting to the ball. You throw him inside to inside linebacker, I think that's where you find his home.
Well, and that would knock his value down an awful lot,
Just a
and that's
little
where.
bit.
Well,
Just a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
I don't know
so-
that you would take him number 2.
I don't know either that you necessarily. I mean, if that were the case, and that's the thing where again, I find myself on this. I'm a little closer to the conventional
More
wisdom
breaking
than you
news:
and
Jalen
Jason.
Carter,
Okay,
Philly. Oh boy.
he goes there,
Oh,
and that's
boy. That could be disastrous for NFC foes, because I'll tell you what, you're adding him to a host of other defensive linemen.
yeah,
That could be a problem.
yeah. I mean, the idea of this guy being able to learn from Fletcher Cox, that's going to be a problem.
Wow,
That's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the thing that humps him over that Super Bowl situation, possibly.
Very possibly, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He is a great player. Nice fuchsia jacket, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a word I don't get to use often enough, fuchsia.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
why I'm smiling. I'm a word guy.
Yeah,
But anyway,
yeah, both of us. That's one of the things we've bonded over,
amongst other things.
amongst other things.
But the one thing I will say, the positive I'm watching right now is that he does look like he's taking it to heart.
Yeah.
That he went where he went. And number 9 overall, obviously he dropped from where he was previously considered to go.
Yeah.
Top 5. So the emotions that's got to be going through his mind is that, the things that was off the field, which I don't like to get too detailed in, but it did have a significant consideration from him dropping out of the top 5.
Well, and this is one of these things too. As somebody who covers not just the NFL draft but the NBA draft, it's a tragic
I
commonality
do like
this
that
year.
fuchsia, though.
Yeah, that fuchsia.
He wears it well.
He does. He does.
He pulled it off.
Yeah, it's double-breasted, no
Oh,
less.
my goodness. And the chain.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You know what this reminds me of is the chain too.
I love the chain, too.
Myself and the legendary John Bastow every year after the Oscars doing our red carpet review.
Right,
This is what
right.
I'm reminded of that. Bastow
Right.
and I breaking it down,
Well, we're trying to give it
evaluating things here. Yeah, and that's
If we
where
were eating a piece of pizza, you want to talk about the cheese, you want to talk about the pepperoni, the
Right.
sausage, and the crust.
all those
The
things.
texture.
All those things. But as I was saying here, the tragic commonality here and then Brendan Miller in the NBA draft this year, in both instances, I get what you're saying. You don't want to talk about off the field stuff, but in both cases, somebody's dead. So it's like, that's a little worse than usual, dude. Like, you have situations where it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm not minimizing like Joe Mixon cuffing a woman upside her head or whatever. he
Right,
did. I'm not
right,
minimizing
right,
that kind of
right.
stuff, but she's still alive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's like there's
yeah,
degrees of things that are like bad.
Yeah.
When you're talking about somebody's dead, you know.
Yeah, well, and I guess at the end of the day, it's decision making.
It is. It is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
Now, of course, he didn't foresee things like that
Right.
happening. But at the end of the day, if you reverse the situation, had he not done this, that, and the other with the car,
Right.
probably the probability and the percentages is
Yeah.
the outcome wouldn't have been what it is.
Well, one of the notes in from the FDH multiverse here, FDH
I love our
editor Jason
multiverse.
Jones, Jason Jones here, saying Jalen Carter to Philly just isn't fair, and I would agree with him on that. Life's not fair.
That's almost like going back to the pizza thing. And
Mhm.
you order pepperoni, and they give you 2, what is it? Not 2 slices, but double pepperoni.
Well,
That's what we're considering right
in my case, the only way to F it up is if they don't make it gluten-free. Because they don't make it gluten-free, this guy's going to lose his immune system.
Right,
And not
right,
on
right.
one pizza, mind you, but
Right.
that's, so yeah, I got to... Those of us celiacs in the world out there gotta watch that shiznit. So you can screw up my order any number of ways so long as you don't put any kind of gluten in it. But yeah, Jalen Carter to Philly.
Yeah, this is
That's a
gonna be-
better value than you thought they were going to get. And again, that deal with New Orleans coming back to bite them in the nuts. I mean,
Well, I hate to keep going back to this, but the Will Anderson thing.
Yeah.
Okay, now he went number 2 overall.
well, 3 after Stroud. So they
Two,
used their own pick
okay.
for Stroud, 3 for Will Anderson. But still, I mean, much higher than you would have had him going. For me, that was a value area, not so much for you and for Jason. I give you guys credit because on this one, like, I'm the coward that's like the conventional wisdom guy. I'm like, yeah, Will Anderson's great. Like, you guys are sticking your necks out, and I respect that.
Well, every multiverse needs that.
Yeah, well, and
A
listen,
good guy,
and I'm not
bad
a
guy.
coward on everybody. There's some guys I'll stick my neck out on
Right,
because,
right.
again, C.J. Stroud was one such guy before the Peach Bowl. Because my critique of him after the Michigan game and looking at it, because that to me just exemplified every criticism that I'd had about the guy as far as like rising the occasion. Like, just because he's not the reason you're losing a game, if that's the best you can say about a guy, like, well, they lost the game because their defense fell apart and whatever, but it's like, there's also a thing here too, like a commonality, and I'll make it here since we are in the FDH man cave on the north coast of America, maybe about 20 miles south of Lake Erie as the crow flies.
Right.
CC Sabathia, when he used to pitch here for the Indians, and particularly in the early to mid years in his career here, when everybody was like anointing him. I mean, later on he became a Cy Young candidate, but like people crowned him like before he was there. And my thing was, because they looked at like run support, and like he doesn't get any run support. I'm like, yeah, but like this is a guy where if he only gets 2 runs of support, he's going to give up 3. He never gives up 1. It's always a thing of like he doesn't get much, but he gives up just more than what he gets. Yeah. And like for C.J. Stroud, I felt he was the same way. Just because he's not the reason you're losing the game, he's not going out there and winning you those games. When they didn't put away Michigan really early on, his butt cheeks clenched, Ryan Day's butt cheeks clenched, the whole stadium felt it. They fed off the nervousness. And C.J. Stroud proved me wrong in the Peach Bowl and proved that he is a big-time guy. So that's an example of where I was willing to go against the grain. Now I'm back with the conventional wisdom that C.J. Stroud can be a great pro quarterback, and we're looking now at Chicago with Darnell Wright from my Tennessee Vols. Okay. So you know I'm going to put that pick over. But
I can't let the CC Sabathia thing go.
Go ahead. Hit me on that one.
As soon as you brought that up, I was thinking, man, should the Texans maybe have drafted him? Remember CC Sabathia?
That's right.
Size at the time?
That's right. And I will tell you, back in the day, doing a couple shows of the old Sports Talk Network,
yeah,
and one of them being Life's a Pitch with Ken Detweiler, our great friend Ken Detweiler, who is still an FDH Lounge dignitary to this day. We actually got credentialed, because I was a sidekick on the baseball show there. Uh-huh. We got credentialed to go to a handful of Indians games and then, to go into the clubhouse afterwards and get some sound. And when CJ was pacing around in there, or CC, and it was a thing where I knew, like, and this is so pathetic, that, like, I'm hearing from people that are like, there's people in the press or communications department that don't like you because they hear what you say. Because I've always criticized the Dolans for their spending, and I still do. And I'm just like, how pathetic is it that they listen and they even know who the heck I am? Shouldn't you be busy doing your jobs and whatever? So I was pretty contemptuous of the fact that they were like having rabbit ears about the stuff I was saying. But then I got paranoid in the clubhouse, like, what if it trickles down? And basically, like, Detweiler is a tall boy. I mean, he's a little, Ken Detweiler, my pal, and I'm with, he's up there in age, but he's a tall boy. And I'm like, you got my back, right? If Sabathia comes after me for having called him Captain
he was
Cheeseburger.
A big boy.
Yeah, like if he hears about me running and saying, calling him Captain Cheeseburger, and he decides he wants a piece of me, you're going to step in the middle, right? So I needed Detweiler, to have my back on that one.
Right. Well, speaking of Darnell Wright, which the Bears just took from the Vols.
Yeah.
I really didn't get a lot of evaluation time on him, but looking at him 6'5", 330, what I did hear about him, he's got good feet for a big guy.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember right, I heard that he flip-flopped from guard to tackle.
Yeah.
So that does throw some versatility in the game, and
yeah.
And that is one need that Chicago Bears had, was that offensive line.
Needed to shore it up.
And I'm sure the quarterback, the other former Ohio State, Mr. Fields, would be happy to see.
Absolutely.
Him coming to town. So what do you think about that? That should help Fields.
It should. I think it's a good pick. And I'm not just saying that because he's a Vol. Mm-hmm. And Fields needs help there. And this is a thing where in Pro Football Draftology 2023, available on the main page at fantasydrafthelp.com, among other things, I have my super early playoff predictions for the season. Mm-hmm. And I have the Chicago Bears as a wild card team. Part of that is, and again, they're, as everybody and their grandmother knows, ton of cap space, ton of good picks here in the draft. That's what you get from being a crap team last year. But also, and they've used their cap space to go out and get some players and do some things here. Mm-hmm. But the NFC, I am so, being a word guy here, you're gonna love this, so blatantly contemptuous of the NFC. The NFC is a pile of guano.
Sometimes it's not the word you use, it's how you use it.
Yes, and I think I put just the right amount of flavor on contemptuous. I like the Yes, so contemptuous.
But you didn't hold it too long, though.
And it's a thing where, it's one of these deals where, and I love cross-sport analogies. I do it all the time. Maybe it becomes a crutch. But, like, in my case, I go back to, like, if you remember, like, the early 2000s when it was, like, the Eastern Conference in the NBA. Like, it's either going to be Kobe and Shaq winning it this year or Duncan, because everybody in the East sucks balls. Like, that's what the NFC's like. The NFC to me is just a pile of crap heading into this year, because even Philly, with some of their offseason losses that they've had here. Although, again, they've gained in some areas as well. So Howie Roseman, it's very interesting. People keep saying he learned the lessons of 2017 and that he didn't want to hang on to guys too long as he arguably did during the last run. So there is something to be said for that. That being said, you may take a step back the next year. And I actually, for anybody that goes in here, and FDH Lounge dignitary, original dignitary, fellow original dignitary, Chris Galloway was absolutely shocked on this as far as my Super Bowl pick for the NFC, because I have, the last couple of years, I have been the doubter on the whole thing. There's a lot of guys that I just don't buy in on it, the media does. And Dan Campbell, with his medium shirts out there and still trying to act like he's a player and all.
Right.
I don't like the fake rah-rah stuff. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking at the trajectory of things there. God help me, the Lions are my Super Bowl pick coming out of the NFC. And
Are
that's
you
even
serious?
before the draft. It's the Lions. Yeah, because...
You
I
do
mean,
know they have that quarterback, right?
but I have always been, I'm the original Jared Goff apologist. And I have to say, look at what they did offensively last year. Again, tell me I'm wrong. I think McVay might have given up on him a little too early.
One hit they did take is Williams got suspended. Their wide receiver, so that will
That's
be a little
gonna
bit
hurt.
of a hit.
That's going to hurt.
because they're gonna need that punch right there.
Albeit, look at what they did offensively without getting much from him last year. So, and here's how I look at it. I think I only had them going like 10-7 in the regular season. 10-7 can win that division.
Well, don't forget too. Now, they also got a number of picks this year.
They
So
do.
depending on how they do that, that could be some.
Yeah, but like 10-7 can win that division because the Bears are going to come up, but not necessarily
not
to
that,
10-7.
yeah, not that much, yeah.
The Packers, yeah. And then the Vikings. The Vikings are completely fugazi. They're one of these teams you look at and you just know the next year they're going to win half
They
that
look
number
good
of
on
games.
paper. They're probably
Well-
going to get 9 to 10 themselves. You know how
Probably.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they might, but anytime you're as lucky as you could possibly be last year. I'm getting a note from Anthony Petrone here.
What's up?
Turn your head and cough for Goff. Well, I'm coughing enough tonight the way that it goes. That was my saying in 2016, Anthony Petrone, when I wanted the Browns to get him. That was my saying at the time. Turn your head and cough for Goff.
You know that we got the Titans up right now. Titans selection.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you think quarterback? Is
Uh,
it possible?
well, and
They could use it.
this is a thing where I did
We
have.
only got 2 quarterbacks off the board.
Well, I had him taking Anthony Richardson in my mock draft. Clearly, that won't be happening here, but
here we go.
that,
Mr. Goodell.
yeah, we'll see. Milking the moment at the podium. Peter Skransky.
Oh,
Okay, all right.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, listen, they got a lot of needs. I can't say.
Well, that's my top guy. As far as, to me, he's a guard.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, he's tough, physical.
Mhm.
If you want to get that run game going, that's the kind of guy. I mean, he's going to bring physicality to the offensive
Yes.
line, the mentality you're looking for, and that's something the Titans look for.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Derrick Henry, because as far as I know, they had him they were shopping him.
Right.
So I don't know if they want to keep
There
with
was
the.
rumors about him going to Philly. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, I didn't see that one going there.
Yeah. Well, A.J. Brown was fanning the flames of that the other day.
Yeah.
But from the FDH Multiverse, Jason Jones, our senior editor, this is addressed to me. You watched more of Tennessee, but I feel like you would have been there 10+ picks from now. I mean, yeah. So as far as the pick that was
He definitely
made,
wasn't graded that high.
yeah, and I'm looking to see where I had Wright. Well, I had Wright going 14 to New England, and so I'm guessing he had him going significantly low. It's so funny, the gap between our mock drafts on these things here, and this is where, yeah, he didn't have him going in the first round. But this is where
By the way, I am using Jason's information, which is coming in handy.
Well, he's the one that has the
Appreciate it,
positional rankings. Jason
Right,
Jones is the most indispensable part of Pro Football Draftology 2023 because it's his big board, 175 picks deep, his rankings position by position, his mock draft right alongside mine. This set a record this year, I believe, as far as variance between our picks. I don't think this has ever happened before. Like, he and I will sometimes vastly differ on something.
they're showing the quarterback.
Okay. Well, you're going to have
But I'm
that.
going to tell you though that I love the pick of Skansky though. I really do. I think
Okay.
that's good value.
I think it's a
to
good-
me.
yeah.
You know, he's perennial Pro Bowl type guy at the guard.
Yeah.
Possibly maybe Hall of Fame type. So
Yeah.
I think where they took him, it was good value. I have no problem
Yeah.
with that. He was definitely a top 15 guy off the board for me.
Well, again, I had Skoronski going right in this range. I had him going 9 to Chicago. Jason had him going 7 to Las Vegas. But a pick earlier, 6. This is the greatest variance I think there's ever been. And Jason and I have been doing mock drafts side by side since I think 06. He had a guy going 6 that I didn't have going in the first round. And that is Quentin Johnson, wide receiver TCU. Now, I think I'm going to be closer to the truth on that one because he has been falling for whatever reason. There was a time when it looked like he could have been top 10, but that's
Well,
one
that's
where,
before the combine, and
yeah,
at one
Silly
time
season.
he was 6'4".
silly season
Now
got
he's
him.
6'2". As an evaluator, because I was high on him,
Right.
and then when I seen that alone, that's going to drop your bet. Oh, Jameer
But, like,
Gibbs, Detroit.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Now this is interesting. I
Here
know
we
Jason is really high on him as far as finding him to be comparable to Robinson. Do you feel like there's not necessarily much of a drop
you know,
off?
I think he's a quality player. I don't think he's necessarily the running back position for him. To me, isn't. He's more what I call a multi-back.
Right.
You know, that means you want to get him the ball in multiple different situations. If you're going to have him as the bell cow at running back, I don't think that's going to work.
NFL Network says comp on the screen here on the Chiron, comp of Jamal Charles.
No,
I don't think I see that either.
No. Why did they have to say that?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know, because first of all, you don't have the feet.
Okay.
He don't have the speed.
Okay.
He can't run inside the hashes inside like Jamal. I don't even want to.
Other than that, he's just like
I
him.
mean, you know.
Other than that, they're indistinguishable. There's a word.
You know, I like Jamal.
Yeah.
I do. But they're not even in the same stratosphere
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
That's not downplaying what he can bring you. But put it this way: if you're going to select him this high, you're going to have to utilize him properly. Now he's going to have to get the touches, not just from the backfield. Maybe you put him in the slot. Maybe you want to put him in sweeps. Maybe you want to get him a couple of screen plays, you know, stuff like that. But if they're looking for him to get it 15 to 20 times in the backfield, that ain't your kind of guy. I had him going in the second round.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that I didn't, as I'm looking at it here, I mean, running back, I did not have that listed at all as a need for Detroit. So
Well,
it's
they got
like,
Swift.
yeah, like,
I mean,
and it's like, is this, I mean,
maybe he's on his last year on the contract, too, though.
is this
Swift.
like Urban Meyer taking ATN when he's already got James Robinson?
Well, I mean, there is something to say for stacking it.
You can, but it's like, but here's the thing, though. Like, when you're passing up the ability to fill needs, to just to get stronger
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
position here, which, by the way, James Robinson, great story on that. And for any of our, I know we have a lot of FDH Lounge, people out there that are pro wrestling fans. That's always been one of our most popular subsets. So, the owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Khan family, Shad Khan, the owner, Tony Khan, his son, who is in the front office here. Of course, Tony Khan, as many people know, the proprietor of All Elite Wrestling since 2019, the great alternative to WWE, something that I love greatly. So he's on a New York talk show in the fall promoting when they were having a show coming up at Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on there and he's talking about stuff and they're asking him about stuff and he's wanting to talk about promoting the show at Arthur Ashe. And they're trying to drag him to talking about
Arthur
the Jaguars.
Ashe.
Yeah, 17,000 people. Like, you take that tennis stadium and you convert it to a wrestling arena. It is so great on TV. But anyways, this is the Urban Meyer time, right? So the New York talk show hosts are trying to drag him to talking about the Jaguars, and he doesn't want to talk about the Jaguars. But this is the great, endearing thing about Tony Khan is that he just blurts stuff out. And he goes, by the way, did you know I discovered James Robinson? And he was like, I was going through, because like he does the analytics for them.
Right,
He's just
right.
like, I came through and he just like, there was just stuff that like burst off the page at me and I said, hey, why don't we take a look at this guy? And the next thing you know, he's on our draft board and we bring him in. That's like Tony Khan just blurting out that he discovered James Robinson. Like, that's the most endearing thing I've ever heard from anybody.
You know,
You
Rick,
know.
I'm looking over the Lions, right? Their roster right now.
Yeah.
They got DeAndre Swift. They got David Montgomery.
Yeah, they brought Montgomery into. That's what I'm saying.
You know, I'm not saying it's just when it comes to evaluation, I'm more a value guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, this was horrible value. That
Right.
doesn't mean I don't like the player.
Well,
and the situation.
there's not many teams that would have taken him there, so
Well, I
by
mean,
definition, the value isn't good.
It's just I don't get it. And looking at the charts from what they need, that's everything except what they needed.
That's what I said. Yeah, I did the team needs here, and I was just like, wait a minute, I didn't list
You got
that in
all
there.
the linebackers, you got all the tight ends. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Is it too early to rescind my Super Bowl pick?
Well, no, here's what I would say. That might not be good value, but it's a good player.
Right,
The worst thing you can do is get bad value and get a bad player.
right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to beat him up totally for it because he's a quality player.
Well, and we are getting to the point here where it's getting to be very, pardon me, very interchangeable on where guys are going to go.
Right.
And this is where, again, on the whole thing with Jason Jones and I on Quentin Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
like right now it's looking like I'm more right than him, but he could still get picked closer to 6th than out of the first round. He could still be right about him, and I could be wrong. Because
Well-
we're getting to this point, there's such a variance in value.
Well, at this point, you still got Najigma from Ohio State still on the board.
Right.
You got Quentin Johnson. After that, it does kind of drop off with the wide receivers to me.
Right.
I think the only ones I had in the first round was I don't know if I want where I have them rated and where I know they're going to go is two different things.
Okay.
So I got some guys later that's going to go later in the draft that I think were potential first round type guys, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, I mean, I see Quentin Johnson. I see it's late first, early second.
Yeah.
Good value.
Yeah. I mean,
know?
excellent value.
Yeah.
Excellent value.
But
No
there's
question
still a
about it.
lot of good players on the board.
Yes.
I mean, with some of these I wouldn't say questionable, but not highly guys going as high as they did, that's pushing some good guys down the board.
Yes. That's how that
I mean,
happens.
we might see some trades up at this point.
Right.
You got two quarterbacks still. I mean, who's going to get Richardson?
Yeah. Well, that's
He's
true.
not going to stay on this board too much longer.
By the way, and I was saying, and Jason had him going first in the mock draft. I thought that would have been so hilarious if it happened, because it was like Richardson, and this is like ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? Because initially this is like about where he would have gone,
Right.
But then he had that bubble of where like he could have gone top 5 or whatever, and if they would have picked him at that point in time, like them trading up to take Richardson 1 would have been the funniest thing of all time. Green Bay, by the way, and again,
Wow.
maybe had worse needs to fill, but Lucas Van Ness,
Once-
fast rising defensive end out of Iowa.
once again, I'm going to say, good player, bad value. Now, what I mean by this,
Fast rising though. I had him going 6.
No question.
I had him
mean,
going 6.
As far as he's a combine warrior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no question about it. But when I looked over the tape, he's more of a defensive tackle.
Right.
To me. I mean, he can give you some versatility and kick out on the edges and give you a little, something out there. But primarily, I think he's going to make a living inside the interior. And another fast fact, he never started when he was at Iowa. Now, hey, look. Iowa's a little bit different situation. They give seniority to their
Neither did
upperclassmen.
Deion Waiters at Syracuse, and he went 4th
Well,
in the NBA draft.
You know
Wait, what?
I thought he was going to be something. I really did. To this day, I thought he was going to be.
I did not like that pick.
I love the Deion. Who was the other guy we picked? The
Anthony Bennett?
No.
Oh.
Another guard. Remember he had the intestinal problems?
Oh,
I really
Dewan
thought-
Wagner.
Dude.
That guy should have been the next big thing. Well, here's the thing. He didn't have point guard skills worth a lick, but who cares?
could
We have
put it up.
LeBron. You don't have to be a point
That's a
guard.
guy
You
that
can
could
be a
put
shooter.
up 20-something and 50-something.
You could
next
be a
night.
shooter. Yeah, you could be a pure shooter.
Man, I just thought he was going to be it.
Yeah. Hard to believe, man, because like that guy, he had it all.
Yeah.
He had it all. It's just, but and
You know,
again,
when you said Waiters, you know what I thought you were going to say? Van Waiters.
Van Waiters.
I used to love Van Waiters.
I know.
What was he, number 50, I think?
I think so.
I used
Yeah.
to love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old school Cleveland references
He was
are
a
flying
good one.
left
He
and
was a
right
good
here.
one. But no, getting back to Van Ness, I like him,
Mm-hmm.
but I had him more like in the 20s in
Uh-huh.
the first round. I think he's still somewhat of a developmental type of guy.
Right.
His hand technique isn't all the way where you want it to be.
Right.
Good athlete.
Right.
Let's don't misunderstand 6'5", 270 plus running a 4 or 5 something.
Right.
And it does show up on film. It's just he doesn't have the quick twitch
Right.
being all outside on the edge at all times. But good player, bad value.
Right. And by the way, a request in from FDH Lounge dignitary Anthony Petrone. And by the way,
What's up, Anthony?
co-proprietor, along with Matt Petrone, of the recently relaunched Unheard Scene, now back as a podcast. Find it where you find your favorite podcasts out there. A request from Anthony Petrone from me. I will give my first one of the night, and watch somebody snip this, and this is going to turn into a meme. But the catchphrase that you always hear in the green room on draft night when a draft pick is made. I'll get up nice and close here. My baby gonna get paid. So, Anthony, that
Where'd
one's
that
for
come
you.
from?
Anthony lives for that when I bust that out. So Anthony, that one's for you, pal.
Yeah. Which we'll probably have a moment like that today.
Somebody's gonna snip it and make a meme out of that. I can tell.
But I'm looking over Green Bay. They got Kenny Clark. Looking over their D line, they probably could use him. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I have defensive line as their third greatest need,
yeah.
but behind wide receiver and tight end. I mean, and that's the thing there.
Now you don't want to take a wide receiver.
How much of an FU would that have been to Aaron Rodgers, though, to go souping up wide receiver and tight end now?
To see that.
Yeah, that would have been great. Well, listen, in the mock draft that I had for them, I had Green Bay taking Michael Mayer out of Green Bay, out of Notre Dame. And that would have been like Aaron Rodgers would have been throwing something at his TV set if Green Bay made that pick.
I have to say, like Michael Myers, I like Michael Myers.
He's a good player,
but
really good tight end.
I'm trying to figure out where these narratives start to where a Michael Myers is the top tight end. Because I'm going to tell you, when I threw the tape on, I was scratching my head a little bit.
Okay.
I think with Michael Myers, you know what the new phrase is? I think he's got a high floor.
Okay.
But the ceiling is a bit perplexing.
All right, well, and here's the thing here. You being the scout, Ken Becks from FirstDownScouting.com, let me ask you on this here, Ken. When you're talking about tight ends, when you're talking about, things like this, and let's just use the ultimate prototype here in the modern day of Travis Kelce.
Mr.
The things
Kelce,
that you're talking about with tight ends, the separators, it's the hands and it's the separation. Which of those two, if not both, are you not seeing from him? Where are the areas that you
definitely not the separation.
Not the separation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the majority of his catches are.
You'd agree he has soft hands, though, yes?
Oh, no question.
Okay.
Now, once again, I like him. Okay, but the value.
Okay.
I know this is gonna be a little shocker, but I had him kind of like a third round draft pick.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, any more tight end, their upper echelon tight ends are going to be the guys you can split out.
Okay.
They're going to be pass catching guys.
Yes.
Now he is well rounded as a blocker. He's not a great blocker, but a good blocker. He is sneaky fast downfield.
Yes.
He can at times get you explosion play here.
Yes.
But if you're gonna count on that, he's not that kind of guy.
Okay.
And because of that, I had to hit him on that one.
Okay.
Speed is a factor. Agility, twitchability, however
Okay.
you want to call it, it's a factor. And with him, though he's solid,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like I say, when I'm giving these weaknesses, it's not like I'm beating him up. If I could get him in the third round, I'd be jumping up and down.
Well, I mean,
we know that's not going to happen.
Here's the thing, though, and again, it has to be said. That's why, again, I laid out your credentials before getting into this. And of course, to see more of this, go to FirstDownScouting.com, the number 1 STDownScouting.com, and check out more. That the thing is, you're getting in the weeds on these guys. So it's like when you're saying I don't like this or whatever, it's like you're dissecting things about them. You're not making broad criticisms.
You know what I try
whatever.
to say a lot of
You're
times,
getting in the
Rick?
weeds, and that's
There's a difference between a scout and an evaluator.
Yes.
A scout, to me, is a more generalized type person. They
Yes.
can tell you how fast and big he is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
An evaluator should be able to tell you, okay, what's he going to do, and if it's draft time, where do you have him slotted?
okay.
I don't, if you just say first round, that's generality.
Right.
Is it at the top of the first,
Sure.
mid first,
Right.
bottom of the first?
Right.
I mean, a lot of times this stuff is shocking when I say this stuff, but if over the years you really kept up with it, it isn't that shocking.
Yeah. And
You know.
looking at this here, the latest pick, I can't say that I'm happy to see this, Broderick, because
Ooh,
and
wow,
again,
the Steelers.
even though I count myself as a Browns fan in exile, and so the Dolphins, my general 1A team, have risen to number one. I've been asked, well, Rick, does that mean that you've made peace with the Steelers and the Ravens? Like hell, you say. I never will. Never, never, never.
Like hell, you
So
say?
yes, exactly. So I don't want to ever see anything good happen to the Squealers, and I'm afraid something did here with
Yeah.
Broderick Jones dropping to them here at tackle. And this is one of these things. And Jason Jones and I have talked about this like in recent years in the draft. And I go back to I think like when Patrick Queen went to the Ravens, and it was just like it feels like a conspiracy that the rest of the league is so stupid that they let these guys fall to them, and it's just like, oh well, okay, we'll let them have them. Like that was how I felt also when they got a couple of years ago. The fellow they got a running back right now. Name is slipping my.
You talking about with the
mind.
Steelers?
Yeah.
Williams?
No, present one.
Oh,
It's embarrassing when I
I know
black
who you're
out
talking
on.
about. The kid from Alabama.
Yeah, it's embarrassing when I draw a blank in real time here.
Well, you know, I had
but
him slotted in the second round.
It was he was a guy that I was pretty high on, and that's Najee Harris. Yeah, and that's where I didn't have to look it up. But anyways, when they got him, I was just like, son of a bitch. You know, it's just it feels like a conspiracy.
You know what I said? I was like, yes.
And this is where
Because I knew.
that's
you
the
know,
beauty of it.
Here's the thing about Najee. He's a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He doesn't have a lack of want to.
Right.
Okay, but the one thing I noticed about him, he sees
Right.
it, he can't get there.
Okay.
Okay, there's a reason he's averaging under 4 yards a carry. He's a workhorse, and I got to give him that. And he can catch the ball out. He's got some versatility. But if you think he's going to get you to the Super Bowl carrying the rock, that ain't going to happen.
Especially in light of the pick they just made. And the fact that I think we would agree that they had a need in that area. Can we at least say,
Broderick.
yeah,
I do like Broderick.
can we at least say one of the reasons he hasn't looked better is because of having a shite offensive line in front of him?
That's a fact.
That's part of it.
That is a fact.
That's part of it. We can agree on that. We can come together on that here. You know, I'm just waiting for McCartney and MJ to bust out the ebony and ivory.
You know what?
We're together and perfect.
I'm trying to stop you from singing. That's why I'm busting. To be honest with you. So we're going to get back to
my
Broderick
singing
Jones
is purely
here.
a comedic tool. It is
Yeah.
purely for those
So,
purposes.
you know, in full disclosure, the
Yes.
one area of the draft I didn't get to really get into it like I wanted was the O-line.
Okay.
There's some spot guys, you know, Sarant, you know, that I got to look at. But, like, Broderick Jones is one guy that I really just spot looked at. Now, the thing about him, I compared him to Paris Johnson. I like Paris Johnson. I had him later in the first round. I think he's got everything you're looking for physically.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with Paris Johnson, he had to work on his technique. Many times I would see him get overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bad thing. But I think the tools are there. I think there needs to be more development.
Right. I think so.
I really do. And so anytime I throw development into an evaluation of a player, that's going to drop your value. Because it's going to slow down your maturity or where you need to be.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And by the way, and the previous Ebony and Ivory reference, taking me back to that sad day when MJ passed away in 2009. That was, I don't know if you remember, the NBA draft night. It was the 2009 NBA draft night. And it was a thing where, and I remember joking about this watching it, that like they must have had a guy walking around with a taser because it was like the NBA is like so conscious of like this is, and I think from Anthony Petrone, will the Jets take a QB and show the love for Aaron Rodgers? That would be amazing.
Right.
I want to see that, by the way.
You know, they got the Jets up on the clock, and I had to break in on this because I'm going to tell you, depending on who they take here. Now, who's the Jets? What are their needs right now?
Their needs are
I'm trying to think because they definitely don't need a running
linebacker,
back.
offensive line, defensive back, tight end, defensive tackle.
Well, all the linebackers are on the board.
Yeah, well, outside of Will Anderson, right?
well, they took one of my top inside
linebackers.
He's not even outside.
Yeah. By the way, side note, So again, the NBA being so image conscious, they want the day just to be about that, right?
Right.
I was joking about that at the time. They must have had like a taser for like if anybody was going to start to mention thoughts and prayers for Michael Jackson. I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing tonight. If somebody goes to like say this is a sad day because of Jerry Springer, they're getting tased, brother. They're going to crumple on the stage.
You know, I'm thinking about like who's left on the board.
Yeah.
Their needs are what linebacker, the line, D-back, tight end, and defensive tackle. And I'm thinking, man, this might be a good time to push back and drop back because there's still a lot of good value.
Well,
on
here's
the
the
board.
thing: is that like outside of you could maybe say cornerback, most of the needs they have are decidedly non-sexy. Like the Jets have got a lot of sexy players,
Yeah,
at the
they
skill
really do.
positions and everything like that. They need a non-sexy pick right here. Keeping my fingers crossed for FDH Lounge dignitary, Sportsology proprietor, and by the way, co-author of the top 75 players in pro basketball history, along with myself
That
and
ain't
Ben
a
Chu,
cheap
Russ
plug,
Cohen.
Lee.
Buy the book, buy the book, buy the
Right,
book.
right.
All right. So Russ Cohen, here's hoping to get who you want, buddy. Russ being a Jets fan par excellence, of course. I always got to bust his balls about 86. You know, it was like, it's so funny because like the drive for us, their version of the drive happened a week earlier, and it's
Right.
what we did to them. Bernie
Hey,
bringing us
the
back.
pick's in.
Pick is
What are,
in.
you, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? I'm thinking cornerback.
Well, the pick
I'm
that
thinking cornerback.
the pick that I had them making, let's see if he's still on the board. Well, I had him taking Broderick Jones, so that ain't happening. But that's the thing where, I mean, if they wanted to go cornerback, Christian Gonzalez is
Everybody's on the board. Everybody's on the board.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is somewhat surprising.
yes. Although, but here's the thing, though, and that like I also think the wide receiver class is a little better than some people do, and I think it's a thing of like guys are going to go later than you think because of the perception that the guys at the top are
I
interchangeable.
will say this is a little rich at 15. What do you think, Rick?
if
At
they go
wide
wide
receiver?
receiver, yeah, they're not going.
I don't
they're not
think-
going wide
and they
receiver.
don't really need that.
Right. But I'm just saying, I think the cornerbacks are the same way. I think the reason the cornerbacks are sliding is because of a perception. They're all great, right? So you can afford to wait a little longer on them. We'll see.
But the run is going to start. It's got to start
We'll
in the
see who
next
starts
5
it.
to 6 picks for sure.
We'll see who starts it.
And I'm going to tell you what, there's some good linebackers still.
Yes.
I mean, there really is some good tight
Yes.
ends.
Yes.
Somebody's going to. Now, I seen something on the draft betting. 2+ on the tight ends. How many
Yeah.
do you think is going to go in the first? We're already almost halfway. I think I
mean-
might want to go 2 and under at this point. I mean, I don't see
I might need a
run.
defibrillator for you when I point this out, but I had 3 tight ends going in the first round.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah,
But they're going to have to start coming off the board here quick.
they are.
They really are. I mean, it's possible, though.
Yeah, it could happen.
Because we got a ton of good tight
Mm-hmm.
ends. Ton of tight ends.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing here. You know, between Michael Meyer, we were talking about here. You've got Laporta from Iowa. They've been the tight end factory the last couple of years. Oh joy! They're going to do a thing here where they get to bring some goober out on stage to make the pick. Now, here's the thing.
got a nice
gonna
tie on.
I'm going to look insensitive as hell because we have this muted
That ain't
so we
gonna
don't
be
get
the first
sued.
time. You know that ain't gonna
If
be the
this is
first time.
right, but it's like if this is a kid dying of cancer and I just called him a goober, like there could be people MFing me right now.
Oh
They're both
my
listening to this and
gosh,
it's
yeah.
like that heartless prick, Rick Morris. You know,
We might not be able to go to our jobs
Yeah.
tomorrow. You keep this. kind of
I
stuff
just
up.
like kid. I hope you're gonna live a nice long life, kid. You look like a
You
goober.
do notice they do start. They do have a lot of that. Of late,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he's, he's doing the same kind of crap you get at the Cavs games. Make some noise!
Well,
Make some noise!
I'm just thinking right now. Why couldn't I be doing that for the Browns back in the day? Jeez. Okay, here we go.
Oh, he's a Make-A-Wish kid. I just called a Make-A-Wish kid a goober.
I know this doesn't sound
Oh my
politically
God.
correct, but
My career is over. I just called a Make-A-Wish kid a goober. I just ended my career in real time.
I think you got a shot. You got
That's
a
what
shot.
happens when I got the volume muted and I don't know who this kid is. Well, okay.
Well, hurry up, kid.
I
How about
officially
that?
begrudge you nothing, kid. May you beat the odds and live a nice long
How many
life.
times is he gonna pump his hand?
I don't know.
Don't we want the?
He's making it harder for me to apologize, isn't he? I mean, I'm trying to walk back my insensitivity.
Will McDonald. I love it.
Ooh.
I
All
love
right.
it. That's
All
one of my
right.
top linebackers. It was
Okay.
that time. Now, Will McDonald primarily played defensive end at Iowa State,
Yeah.
but as under. I love this guy right here. I had him going top 15. What 6'3", 240. Excellent. One of the top edge rushers. Period.
I had him going
Offense.
31 to Philadelphia.
Wow.
Can you imagine if Philly ended up with this kid?
Now there ain't many guys I got my top 15, believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not, but this is one of the guys where I can legitimately say
Okay.
I'm good with this one.
Okay.
They got him a good one here.
All right.
He's relentless coming off the edge.
Got
Good
that
hand
motor.
technique, yeah, no doubt about
He
it.
plays, as I always like to highlight whenever I'm doing anything with you, I'll throw out your catchphrase for you.
Snap
he
the
plays
whistle.
snap the whistle, buddy. Snap the whistle.
No doubt
My
about
man.
it. He's got the motor. Yeah,
He
I
does.
like this
He
selection
does.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I like this.
He's
a legitimate road dog.
yeah. And that's what the Jets need. They need an injection of guys like this. This defense is already on its way. And to be honest with you, although again, you saw by the team
Uh-oh,
needs
he's
that I
gonna
had
do
listed
something.
here.
I thought they were gonna.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Was
That's
that
like
him?
Miles Garrett-esque with the athleticism.
Okay.
But
It shows up on the field. It really
Yeah.
does. Some guys test good at the combine.
Holy crap.
Did he really jump? I thought I seen his hand. Can we really give him a come on?
well,
I
also
don't think that was a legitimate.
and
Not that I can do it.
by
I'm
the
just
way,
saying.
after watching that video just now on the TV feed here of him jumping over a car, I'd like to refer everyone to the brand new FDH Lounge AI Hub.
Here we go. I
Where
love it.
we're collecting all the newest and greatest things about AI. I'm suspecting that video may not have been on the
you know
level.
who you're starting to remind me of?
Who?
Have you ever heard Russ Tucker?
Yeah,
I listen
yeah,
to his podcast.
Yeah.
How he gives those.
yeah. Oh, I mean, you gotta know how to be a pitch man, buddy.
You're right. You're right.
You
up
have
there
always
with
known
him.
that I have known how to
Yeah,
be a pitch
yeah,
man,
yeah.
and that's where
I think he went to your class.
very
honestly.
possibly I'm smelling the fine hand of AI in that video where he
You
just
think?
jumped over a
You
car,
think?
or maybe I'm
Well,
just
why
jealous.
wasn't the car moving? Now that would have been impressive.
Well, that would have been. Maybe I'm just jealous because I don't have the hops to jump over a Matchbox
if he
car.
would have done
I mean,
that pre-draft and I seen
Yeah.
him jump over while I was moving, I might have to move him in the top 10.
And it's just like, you know what is going to be like? You and I have talked about like business niches and everything like that. Like,
Snitches, business snitches.
niches.
I don't like them
niches.
either.
Yeah.
I don't like business snitches.
I just dealt with a snitch
I don't like
today.
them. Oh no, they're the worst.
Yeah. I just yeah.
Did they cut you in front of you?
Hashtag HOA life. But snitches get stitches. But
Did they cut you in front or in the back?
well, they
Because the
cut
back's kind of worse in a
they
way.
cut the whole association in the back.
wow.
But this is as far as a niche business wise, I'm thinking about this because you and I have talked about this, like the different things of like player representation and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like we need to start an agency that specializes in like deep fake videos of players. Like, look at this player jumping over this minor pyramid in Egypt,
Yeah, but
you
the
know?
insurance cost would be through
Yeah.
the roof.
Well,
Insurance
yeah,
policy.
true.
We'd have
But
to
like,
discuss that part.
Oh,
if we
yeah.
could get an insurance policy because that might not be a bad idea.
yeah, like,
I don't
like
think you should have just thrown that out.
I just gave the idea
I
to
don't-
somebody
I don't
else.
know.
Yeah. That was not smart of me.
Yeah.
My inner monologue was failing me.
Hey,
yeah.
okay.
Sometimes the urge to entertain is stronger than my common
I
sense.
just realized we got the I was gonna say the Redskins. We got Washington
Yeah.
up next.
Can't call them that anymore.
No, not at all.
Thanks, Dan Snyder.
So, well, at least he did leave. You gotta give him that.
That's
Well,
right.
what's their needs? Let's see. What did Jason put up on here?
Well, I did the needs, brother. So
Oh,
let's
did you?
let's
I thought Jason did.
No. Jason did most of the great parts of this thing here, but I'm not going to fail to put myself over because I never do. I mean, quarterback is an obvious one here. Offensive line, cornerback,
Wow.
linebacker,
Could you imagine if
tight
they
end,
took
defensive
Richardson?
tackle. Could happen.
Wow.
And that's where. And here's the thing, though, is that like, I would be a little
You know
concerned.
who their offensive coordinator is?
Who is it now?
Chiefs. Think about it.
Oh, Bieniemy went there.
I mean,
Okay.
that could be
Okay. All right.
dangerous.
All right, and look, I mean, and let's not let there be any revisionism. There's another word. Patrick Mahomes was not a finished product when he came into the league.
No.
So Bieniemy's role in helping to develop him could be something there, but it's a thing where I look at that organization, and it's a thing where you and I have talked about this with the possibility of why C.J. Stroud might have slipped. He turned out not to, but basically, you know, as I
By the
pointed
way,
out to you.
CJ was my number one quarterback.
Okay, and probably
And I called him generational.
probably would have been mine.
2.0 Tom Brady.
Okay.
We can get into that later.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I would.
Yes.
I'm willing to have the discussion that he's the best in the draft. I think he is, but it's just like now. Then again, who are the last couple guys I put the label on of best in the last several years? Sam Darnold was one of them. I will say though, the Jets and the Panthers, that's a big asterisk. I don't know that I was necessarily proven wrong. He went to teams that ruined him. And the case of Washington here, when we talk about this with Ohio State quarterbacks, the whole thing that until the second half of last year, Fields was never successful. Well, Fields was successful the second half of last year, but before that, you'd never had a breakthrough Ohio State quarterback. You got to put the Washington asterisk on that because of Haskins. What might Haskins have become if they didn't destroy him? And that's the asterisk we got to put on.
You know
this.
what? The thing with Haskins, he was right. He came right around when that involvement with the movement was coming.
Yes. Yes.
He got not that he
was on the wrong end of that. He was a little too much of a pocket
couple
guy.
more years before.
And also, the one thing that could prove me wrong in this is that
Emmanuel Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes.
Like
All right,
like
here go the corners. The run starts.
But go ahead.
The one thing with Haskins where, again, I might be wrong on him. I can't say for sure, but I will say is that he was a one-year starter. And that is a thing that has been, a lot of times, a kiss of death. Him, Trubisky.
Yeah.
I was one of those Mitch Trubisky truthers out there. They're like, be careful of him, versus FDH Lounge.
Do you know I interviewed him in high school?
Did
Mitch
you?
Trubisky? Yeah.
Okay.
Good family.
Well, yeah. Well, and look, there is no bigger homer for him than FDH Lounge original dignitary Chris Galloway, my close personal friend, who loves the fact that he comes from his area of Concord Township, and Chris has been a consistent homer for him throughout. And again, well, Galloway is also, here's the double whammy, and here's where I'm about to find out if he's tuning in or not, because he's going to have a response for me if he's tuning in. He's also a Tar Heel homer. So it's like he had a couple of different, because his dad went to UNC.
Oh, okay.
So he had a
Tar
couple.
Heels football or basketball?
Anything
Really?
Tar Heels, yeah. Which I'm like a situational Tar Heel homer because I friggin' hate Duke like any good American. So it's like I'm with him
They're
on
not
that
as
part of it.
hateable now, though.
They're not quite, but I mean,
but
look, seeing Coach K get stomped in his last game by Hubert Davis, that was giving me the whole thing.
Oh, you're going back now.
Oh yeah, I was running around saying, "Who's to say Coach K would have ever done anything if he had to coach against Davis all those years?" So
now this is a name I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
We were talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
One of my biggest busts. To this day, I still think he could have been something.
Okay.
I think it was the system. But I believe he did go to the Redskins. Remember Heath Schuler?
Yeah. Heath Schuler
That was my guy.
became a congressman of all
Yeah,
things.
I know, right?
Yeah. How about that?
So yeah, Heath Schuler was definitely one of my guys way back when.
Heath
when I
Schuler
first started out.
Here's what's so funny. You mentioned Heath Schuler as the Patriots are about to pick, and I'm seeing Mac Jones right now on that Heath Schuler trajectory.
You know,
Christian Gonzalez, here we
Here
go.
we go with the corners. Here we go. Now, and speaking of Gonzalez, yeah, that's another corner, huh?
Is either of those two his mom? Wow. Like,
I didn't see.
props to.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't,
Either of those two back there, yeah.
You
Like,
never know, though.
I was going to say, a lot of these guys got
You
young
do need a little
moms.
eye candy here. Just don't get it mixed up. But no, speaking of Gonzalez and Forbes, both. I like both of them.
Sure.
When it comes to, look, I love his size, Gonzalez. To me, he's more of a pass defender.
Yeah.
More what you're looking for these days,
Exactly.
Big guy that can cover, can mimic, and shut. I wouldn't say shut down receivers, but he can do what he's got to do. The problem is with him, I didn't see him as physical.
Okay.
Physicality, but come on.
Yeah.
Then you're talking Hall of Fame-ish type stuff. But I do like the pick. Good value. No problem with this one.
Yeah. Well, there was another guy, great athlete, didn't know how physical he was, whatever. I'm not making any kind of comparisons here, but there's a guy that they now refer to as Coach Prime, who they said that about back in the day.
Mr.
So there was
Colorado.
that. Yeah. Although that is the thing too. Like for as much as he took the for as much as he took that whole kind of a thing, that it was a lot of that was true. I mean, he wasn't going out of his way to make a lot of these tackles. Jason Jones from the FDH Multiverse here, our senior editor from the home office in Colorado,
Right.
The FDH Western office. Of course, the Patriots would have my favorite corner fall into their lap. So,
You know, the
little
one thing-
reminiscent of the Steelers and the Ravens. Usually it doesn't happen to the Patriots because the last couple of years their drafts have just been straight ass. But, you know, this does feel that way,
Well,
I think.
the one thing I was saying with the picks that were not necessarily calculated to go where they went, that was pushing some guys, some quality guys down.
Yeah.
And one thing you can give it to Belichick, you know, maybe of late, not the best selections, but he does know his defensive backs. And so, I mean, they got the stamp of approval here. So he'll be definitely a good addition. Although they have a lot more additions they need to go on with New England. They're really hurting right about now.
They do. And Jason says, all right, Detroit's back up with all but one guy out there, sitting pretty again. So as far as all but one guy, so I look forward to hearing Jason elaborate or reading Jason elaborate as the case may be here, as the texts roll in from around the FDH multiverse. And again, Jason with...
So
with,
wait,
again,
do New England have back-to-backs?
no, so Detroit's going to be up now.
Okay, Detroit.
So yeah, that is. But this is a thing where, and you can point to again. I don't know if it's necessarily Nick Caserio leaving in recent years, but like the Patriots draft, I think people are pointing to a couple of years ago. I think when Atlanta raided their front office, like
Right.
their drafts have not been as good. And you go back to, frankly, the early Belichick years, the drafts weren't as good in there. But from the mid to late 2000s through probably the mid 2010s. I think that was basically the backbone of a lot of the Patriots dynasty. And again, for all of us who came to loathe the Patriots over a period of time, fortunately, it looks like it's in no danger of being replicated anytime soon, especially with Mac Jones at quarterback. I
Right.
mean, that's... you know,
What
not-
did you think about that selection? I really
never-
wasn't that high on
I
the
never
guy.
got it. I didn't get it. It's just I mean, this is going to sound very reductive when I say this, but it was like, because I know he looked like more of a pro prospect in college, but like by the logic you're using, why aren't you talking about going and getting Stetson Bennett? You know what I mean? Like Stetson Bennett's the most accomplished college player in this draft.
Yeah.
But is that what the draft is supposed to be about? The most accomplished college
I mean,
player?
You know, once again, we're going back to the narratives again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the new one is, you know, like he's got
mean-
a high floor.
Well, yeah, and
know,
that's where,
well,
you know.
But what does that really mean?
Well, yeah,
Like,
and
you know,
again,
if you're taking a guy in the top 15, and the most you're talking about, he's got a high floor. Now I'm getting a little concerned. You know what I mean?
well, with my cross-sport analogies here, that would be like the year that Jimmer Fredette was maybe the most accomplished college
Oh,
player.
wow.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's going back a
I
ways, huh?
remember that one.
Yeah, so if you're
Was
talking
that the
about,
guy with the hair?
I don't,
Remember who was the guy about 10 years ago? White guy. Had a lot of long hair. Skinny guy. He was big time coming out. I thought he was going to be good.
as
can't
we
remember.
go down the rat hole of Jimmer Fredette, I don't necessarily remember that he had any kind of like.
I don't think that name doesn't.
I'm
another-
going to bring it up. Wow!
What's that?
How about that? How about that lettuce? You were right. How about that? Is that what you were thinking
No,
of?
that's not him though.
That's not him. Okay.
No.
All right.
But
Well-
he's got a few.
Courtesy of Google Images, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmer Fredette. A fine,
You had to show it.
fine head of lettuce there, yeah, you know. And so, yeah, that, so he was not necessarily known for the, for the head of hair there, but yeah.
I'm taking some water. That's
There you go.
sponsored by the FDA. by the way.
There you go. There you go. And that, as I've been watching nervously as it is lidless on the floor between your two legs there. So props to you, buddy. Props to you for
Well,
that.
there's a reason I'm not. I'm pretty motionless right now.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You trust in your own motionlessness.
Oh boy.
And I applaud you for it.
So, I had to mention this while I was on my head. Now,
Okay.
I think this might be where the run on the tight ends might start coming.
Okay.
I looked over, their roster, and I don't see anybody at the tight end spot that really gets you your mouth.
If they
wet
take
there.
Sam Laporta just because he was from Iowa, wouldn't that be funny? Relive that one.
It'd be funny, but I don't know that. And I like Laporta. See,
Yeah.
here we go with the value again.
But to me, he's the third guy behind Kincaid and Meyer. Do you agree?
Oh no.
You don't agree?
No.
Okay, is he 1 or 2?
I say he's top 5. 1 or 2, nowhere near it.
As far as
If you look
tight
at
end,
my tight ends.
okay, so he's all right. So he's
I
not.
say he's maybe top 5, maybe not.
Okay, all right. I've got him.
Let me make sure.
I've got, but you agree with me. He's behind the other 2. So.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no
okay.
question
All
about
right.
that.
So.
All right, let's see. What Jason give me here on the? Okay,
Well-
I like Kincaid better.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. He's got Kincaid rated 1, Meyer 2.
I like
Laporta
Musgrave
3.
better.
Okay.
Although the injury concerns, but I do got Musgrave.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's definitely top 4 or 5. Now Darnell Washington, I do want to talk about Darnell
Okay.
Washington.
All right.
6'7", 265, running a 4.64.
This is like a think piece in the Atlantic. We need to have a conversation about Darnell Washington. All right,
You
fire
know,
away.
I mean, here's the thing. Me not knowing what they're gonna do with him puts you at a hamper. Because to me, I wouldn't say he could be the number 1 tight end, but I mean, if you had some insight how to use him, he's a good move position
Sure.
guy. What I mean, he can be at the H-back spot. He can be a blocker for the running back. He's a move guy.
It's valuable.
I mean, he could redo the way you think the tight end position could be.
Okay.
Now, what I would say as a pure tight end, as far as a route runner, he's a little lumberish.
Okay.
But you got to think he is 267. He's
Yeah.
somebody we've never really seen before.
Right.
But as a whole, what he could bring to an offense, he is a delightful piece to look at.
Okay. Well, I mean, the one thing, at 267, the one
We
element.
got Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell goes with the
Detroit.
pick there. Yeah. I mean, look, that's an area that they needed help in.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good for them in that sense. 267, again, it's the thing, we don't want to get lazy comparing every guy in here to Kelsey, but he's the prototype. So when you're looking at that, the one commonality he's going to have with Kelsey is the difficult to bring down kind of a deal.
No
So-
question. Now, the one thing I would say with Washington, once his momentum stops, it's hard for him to gear
Right.
it up real quick. Though he runs a 4.67, he doesn't have that quick twitch, that quick burst to regenerate quickly.
Right.
But once he gets the movement going, he's a handful to deal with.
Well, and that's the thing where, and I remember going back to a little exchange on Facebook. Old friend of ours from the Sports Talk Network days, common friend of ours, our friend Don Peterson from back in the day. Don P, what's up? But I remember
he's got something going
yes,
on tonight.
absolutely.
Yeah, what's up, Don?
Redline Radio, I believe he's doing his show tonight. I think his stream is probably done by now. Hey, maybe he's tuned into us right now. Who knows? But anyways, so he could be listening to this in real time. But I remember responding on his Facebook page. I think it was during the Chiefs-Browns playoff game a couple of years ago. And he was expressing frustration as far as like the Browns not having anybody to bring him down. And I responded. I was like, Don P., who does on their team like have a guy who like it's hard to find, like it would have to be like the perfect kind of safety, almost like a Pro Bowl type safety, combination of size and speed to be able to bring the guy down.
Right.
And I was like, and now that Browns team was horrifically bad in the back seven. That back seven that year was just complete and total
What year was
shite.
this?
2020.
Oh,
That
okay, yeah,
if
yeah.
you remember that, like that back seven was just a dog's breakfast, as they say in England.
A dog's breakfast.
Yes, and
I like
so
that one.
they didn't have anybody, like especially the Browns didn't have anybody that could do it. But it's a
Right.
thing where for other teams it was just a matter of like who does have a guy who can go get him. It's just
Right,
those kind of guys don't grow on trees. Very interesting here. Tampa Bay coming up at 19. This is a little controversial on my part here. I had them taking a guy they might not need to take in this spot, or they might want to take, and that being Hendon Hooker, because that's a team where if you're
I
looking
didn't
at
see
it,
that one
now
coming,
Will
but
Levis is still here as well, and that's why I'm thinking they could go
yeah.
Levis. But I'm not normally a fan of taking quarterbacks at this point in the first round. I mean, the worst example of all
Now,
time.
what do you mean by that?
Because here's the thing. I
You
mean,
mean mid-range?
like yes, or like late first round or second round. Sometimes it works out, but it's like usually guys drop for a reason.
Right. I know. What
It's
you're
like if
saying.
you, if you're not in the top 12 or so, you're probably still there for a reason.
There's questions.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like Levis, he's dropping for reasons that aren't necessarily obvious. And then Hooker is a guy where, look, if he was healthy, I think he could have been in the conversation to go in the top
I
half of
gotta
the first
tell you, I'm
round.
surprised Richardson ain't off the board.
Well, Richardson as well. He's another guy we put in here. And
Yeah.
the thing you have to look at with Tampa Bay is, again, Brady just left. And the thing is, and they're going to want this downturn that they're in to be as short-lived as possible. Todd Bowles, God bless him, but the clock's ticking. Like if they're not,
Yeah.
if they're not having a better year or signs pointing up, that could be it for him.
Right.
So it's critical for them to get a quarterback because they don't want to be like, that's okay, we'll suck and get a pick in the top 3 next year. They don't want to have that kind of a downturn, Ken.
Right.
They
right.
want to be. But holy crap, they take
Whoa, I
Elijah
love
Cansey
that
out of
pick.
Pittsburgh.
I love that pick. Number 19, good value.
And-
Explosive. He's a game changer. He's a game changer. I like this selection. Had him definitely top 20 type talent.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got my mark. I think
I
a
mean-
little undersized. I think about 6'2", 280.
I'm not arguing with the talent. I'm not arguing with anything you're saying there, but in
Yeah.
looking at this, I mean, what are we saying? Kyle Trask, quarterback of the future? I mean, Baker Mayfield, for
Well,
God's
you
sake.
know.
I mean,
Well, you can't have it all. Maybe they're selecting him and putting him at quarterback. I mean, he is 6'1".
I mean,
He ran a good 40.
Shohei Ohtani of the NFL, guy who's going to play on both sides of the ball.
CC Sabathia
Okay.
of football.
Well,
No, this guy right here for real. I mean,
okay.
yeah, definitely. I mean, if he would have went top 15, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. He's explosive, undersized guy. Yeah, just explosive.
That's
Now they're comparing him to Aaron Donald. And, now they are comparable as far as size, explosion, things like that. But man, to project stuff like that,
That's the lazy crap because he went to Pittsburgh.
I mean, I loved Aaron Donald coming out, but you can't project. I mean, could you project Jordan to be who we come on?
Right.
I mean, you can't.
Well,
That's not fair to this, to him.
well, but that's like saying so and so went to North Carolina and so did Jordan. They're
Right,
doing it because he
right,
went to
right,
Pittsburgh.
right.
I mean
They are similar skill sets, don't get me wrong, but I mean Aaron Donald against the run.
Still though, I will tell you again, as the guy that did the team needs in Pro Football Draftology 2023, available on the main page of FantasyRaffle.com.
Absolutely.
I don't have defensive tackle as one of their needs. So I mean, they have a lot of needs.
One thing a lot of times that I don't look into a lot of times is who they have is coming up on free agency.
Well, I
might
factor
have
that
some
into it
guys-
as well. I do
Did you
factor
really?
it in if there's guys that they're on the verge of potentially losing or anything like that.
Well,
and
I'll
I'm
tell you
talking
what,
this off season.
I'm
But
looking
it's
at
like, look
your stuff
You're not
here.
seeing defensive tackle there. I promise.
Well,
you.
that's not my concern. My concern is there's like 8 different positions.
And they didn't fill any of them there. So here's where I'm saying. Like, I don't disagree with anything you're saying about the talent of the player.
Right.
But it's like,
Yeah, that
your
quarterback.
your building is on fire and you're saying, look at the pretty linoleum we got here.
Yeah,
you have bigger
I mean-
concerns. So
That Trask, I think he's a quality maybe backup.
Right.
But
well, again, there's a reason where he went where he went in the draft that year.
yeah.
So it's a thing where I just don't
Yeah,
even.
that is a little questionable.
It is very questionable because it's like, why would you?
Even Washington, why did you,
Yeah.
I like who they picked, both teams, but that's not gonna make or break when you're going against some of the top quarterbacks. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not gonna.
Well, and like this is the gold standard of criticisms to make at a team. It's very, if you look at since the Browns came back into the league in 1999, very Browns-esque. Best player available. Was it a need? Who cares? We think it was the best player available.
Yeah,
The Browns have done that an awful
yeah.
lot.
Well, here's my concern. Okay, let's say you're not gonna take a quarterback. Well, then
Yeah.
why not drop back and get more value? Because I mean, unless he almost turns out to be a Hall of Famer, what are we doing?
Right. Well, and the thing with Richardson, with what you're saying, is that is hilarious about this is that we had this boomlet on him of where it was like, forget everything you ever heard about Richardson. He's the real deal. He should go top
Right,
five. Like
right,
we were all believing
right,
this,
right.
and like this is lower than he was supposed to go originally.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, I'll be honest with you. He's definitely the boomer bust, depending on how you
And
bring
he
him in.
is. And he is.
But man, we're going in the second half of the first round.
Right.
I couldn't have envisioned his up. How do I say this? His ceiling. Do we know his ceiling?
I don't think we do.
I mean, he's kind of like the Darnell Washington of quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? And then I'll hear somebody say, well, he might be a bust.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like every player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, I guess you'd have to have the conviction
Yeah.
to take him. But,
Yeah.
like, if you're in need of a quarterback,
Yeah.
I mean, this is good value.
Yeah.
If not, you're getting them cheap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's a thing where, in that alternate universe we're talking about here, where he did actually drop, that's quite a scenario, because I'm sure that was like the nightmare that he had this morning, like waking up there of like, oh crap, this is a plummet beyond all kind of recognition. But that's a circumstance where ultimately it works out better for him
Whoa.
than he could
Is
have
this
possibly
Seattle?
thought. Yeah.
Well, you know what this looks like,
Yeah,
right?
because Richardson,
I mean,
was,
if they don't take him, I'm going to
like,
be like, what are
yeah,
you doing?
yeah.
This is like the perfect scenario.
yeah, and that's where
Wow.
but Richardson, with the spot with Indy, ultimately, all of these nightmare kind of things here that he was potentially looking at this morning, because it was really starting to look like it was going the other way on this here. But Seattle ultimately in this spot. See, I don't see them going quarterback though. So as far as Levis being involved, or
Who don't you see going at
I
quarterback?
don't see Seattle doing it with the way that they locked up. What's his nuts?
Oh, you don't see him going at
no,
quarterback?
they're committed to Geno Smith.
See, I see him going here.
No, well that's where as
Because
far
they already
as
had
Levis
the selection
as far as
already,
Levis or Hooker. Well then no, but that's the thing though, is that it's not. They locked down to Geno Smith for like 3 years, so it's like, why would they?
Yeah,
I don't.
but from what I'm hearing, though, it's really like a 1-year deal
Okay,
with the option of 2.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
and I
So
get
I
that.
think this would be like perfect.
I mean, they could, and well, here's the thing: is you get the chance to do what you don't generally get to do much in this day and age, as far as the red shirting of quarterbacks. Remember again, Mahomes, how much he really benefited from that year of sitting there in Kansas City and getting a chance to kind of learn. Hendon Hooker is going to have one of those years no matter what. So in Seattle, if he's waiting a year or two behind Geno Smith, as long as it's not one of these prototypically ugly things like it always is in Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers sits a long time behind Brett Favre, Jordan Love sits a long time behind Aaron Rodgers, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think it'll come into that, because, again, Geno Smith is on the back nine of his career, and he was a surprise reclamation project this year. So Hooker or Levis in this
What
spot.
kind of project was he?
A reclamation, basically.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because he did outperform his.
Who
His-
thought he
his
was going to have that?
yeah.
Well, who at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
You get all these nerds
There's
right
no,
now.
there's no way you could have projected it.
All these nerds right now with the gambling props running around like, I had a ticket on so and so. To like, is there anybody running around there that had a ticket on Geno Smith to make the Pro Bowl?
I gotta tell you, when I was watching him, you're like, what? Because he did look poised.
Yeah,
I mean, he looked, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know what clicked, but
Right.
something clicked.
I don't know what did either.
I don't know.
I don't know
The
what
picks
did
in.
either. But it's.
I got a feeling it's gonna be Richardson. I really got a feeling.
You think so?
This is a good scenario.
Well, that is.
I mean, you're getting him at a low cost.
Well,
Let's face it.
well, wait a minute. But that's. No, you mean Hooker or.
No, Richardson. I'm hoping.
It is. It's a thing where, admittedly, as much as we've tried to kayfabe on this, on guys who did or didn't go here, I'm trying to pull off the kayfabe here that it had slipped our minds on this,
Right.
but I'm apparently not going to be able to kayfabe it anymore. As a cult, you and I, for a moment there, had kind of gotten caught up in this and had kind of. I'm having to break the fourth wall completely here, folks.
He's a goner?
Yeah, he's with the Colts. Yeah, my attempts to smarten him up on the fly have gone completely by the board.
Because I was thinking to myself, how the heck did he drop?
Well, it's one of those things where
I'm feeling better now.
It's
I'm
like,
going, what is going on here?
And it's like the fact that I had to do that right now just redeemed the whole thing.
Yeah, it did.
Because it was like, now it's comedy. Now we're laughing at ourselves.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
why couldn't I be up there doing this?
And it's this broad is a flag football player.
I don't know.
Like, I've played flag football.
There
Why
we
not
go.
qualify Jackson Smith and Jigma?
No,
And
I didn't see that fit.
I'm not sure that I do either. And wide receiver is a pretty good area for them, as it is. And
wow.
And I, as I'm sure they're still going to be saying in the year 2040, this is the year Paul Richardson breaks through.
I just.
Here's the thing, man.
That's interesting.
This is a guy before the season that was almost a consensus top 10 pick. And it's a thing where he really, and it's, I don't want to say cost himself with the health, but I think the way that the season ended and the fact that he ruled himself out of the Peach Bowl game.
I kind of didn't like that, to be honest.
Well, and the thing is, like,
I'm not going to hold it against him because we don't know the details.
Right.
But
we've seen players be like, I'm not going to play in the Peach Bowl. I'm not going to play in the Orange Bowl, whatever, when those games aren't in the playoffs. And the one thing that I always say to point to on that is Jake Butt played the 1 year for Michigan. He got hurt. He missed his first year, and he cost himself millions of dollars in the draft. So for all the people that don't like that, point to that kid and say he cost himself a lot of money. That being said, I'm sorry, this kid took some money out of his pocket because he would not have slid to 20 before this season. This is a clear case of where a guy is going a minimum of 10 spots lower than he would have gone in the pre-2022
and that might be
mock drafts.
that might be very true.
Yeah.
Now, at what the evaluator had on, I had him in the late 20s in the first round, second round.
Yeah.
And my reason being is, he's a professional receiver. What I mean is, when it comes to the intermediate to short range, he's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like once again with the value.
Yeah.
Unless you can stretch the defense, to me, your value, you have to drop it a little bit.
Yeah.
To me.
You don't see him as a guy that stretches?
No.
Okay.
Not at the next, not on a consistent basis.
Okay.
Not, I think he's a professional route runner.
Yeah.
I think he's a professional catcher. I like his physicality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the wiggle, the twitch, to get the additional yard. I guess that's what I should say. I think he's your guy, your Edelman.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's an Edelman type. What I mean is he's going to get where he needs to be. He's going to make the catch. I think he's going to be limited with the additional yards after the catch.
Yeah.
That's what I think I should be saying. And he's not going to scare the defense stretching it.
Yeah.
You have to look at it as a total package. Now, he might be the ultimate underneath to intermediate guy. And if that's if that team values that, that's good.
Right.
But his shortcomings are his shortcomings.
But for a Seattle team with needs all over the defense, you're looking at it, and he's.
Are you liking this?
I'm the team needs guy.
Yeah.
I'm the team needs correspondent in the FDH Lounge. And here's the thing, and FantasyDraftHelp.com, of course.
Right.
So I'm looking at it like they already have Metcalf and Lockett. Like, can you afford to spend a first-round pick on arguably your number 3 receiver?
But how long are they going to have Lockett?
Okay. I mean, look, yes.
Because you do have to. That's what I'm saying.
He's going to replace one of these guys.
Well, I don't think he's going to be Metcalf.
Yeah, probably Lockett.
And they did just give Metcalf a new.
Yeah. I'm probably going to replace Lockett, but it's like But this is like, like we're gonna take care of tomorrow's
I
needs
still
today.
don't know why they didn't take Anthony Richardson.
In an alternate universe where he was on the board at 20, they would have. Dude, we're trying to do this in real time. Everybody's going to have brain farts.
Where did he go? He went number 4, right?
Yeah. So I tried to. The minute that I started checking this, when you mentioned Richardson still being out here, and I was like, you mentioned him being out here, and I'm looking it up, and I'm like, oh crap, he's gone. And that was when I tried showing you the screen.
I seen that.
And then it was just like,
you know how people edit stuff. So I'm thinking, what is that? But then I'm thinking, I'm going, we're past 10.
I'm like trying to smarten him up on the down low, and then
we're past number 10. What is going on here? Like, why? That's what you remember me saying. Why are they trading up?
Right, like.
Washington?
And that's the whole thing. Like, we can laugh at ourselves here. Like, that's the key to this thing. Like, who cares?
It's a beautiful
thing. It's like, I just, like, the fact that I had to break the fourth wall and show it to you like that, that's what transformed it into comedy, and that's what redeemed it.
I loved it.
Dude, if you take anything and you make comedy out of it, you've redeemed it.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to take yourself too seriously.
Exactly. Let that be a microcosm, folks, of how we don't take ourselves too seriously in the FDH Lounge. You try keeping up with us in real time, people. We're doing a show here.
Yeah, because we weren't really around them picks, if I remember right. But anyway,
right. We were aiming to get started at 8:00 Eastern time. It ended up being 9:00 Eastern time.
I'm actually glad that we were talking about Richardson, because what do you think about with him being at Indy?
I mean, I think it's a good move.
I definitely think they should have made the move now. But and I don't mean to cut you off, but what's going on with Levis then? See, here we go with the shenanigans. Well, every year this happens with the
Hendon Hooker, I understand it. I mean, Levis, there was questions about.
Yeah, but they were talking about number 2.
Some of these like super technicians will get into. I don't know if I like the fluidity of his hips with his throwing motion. You get to those kind of criticisms.
Does he have a good throwing motion? Don't get over it. Come on.
Right. Yeah. And so again, who knows on that? Hendon Hooker is easier to understand because again, he's a pure redshirt guy at this point. You ain't getting anything out of him this year.
And he's older too.
A little older, yeah.
I don't really account for that because whatever.
I mean, it's not like
Quentin Johnston.
It's not like when the Browns took Brandon Weeden and he only looked 3 years younger than the owner, Randy Lerner, because he was in his late 20s. Quentin Johnston going in this spot.
I like this one.
Funny thing is, I was, in terms of like who was right on him, Jason or me, this is splitting the difference between the 6th pick and out of the first round. So we're about half right on this. Jason Jones from the FDH Multiverse here, our senior editor, texting me and saying that this wide receiver slide is crazy. But I addressed this earlier, and I kind of predicted this, is that you're going to see this. You're going to see the wide receivers starting to go off the board later in the round, and maybe now you're starting to see a run, because when there is this kind of depth, there's a perception, if we don't get this guy, we can get this guy.
Right.
I think a lot of these teams have these guys graded pretty closely together.
Well, Quentin Johnston, if it was a couple of months ago, I had him in my top 15. That was before we got the actual weights and sizes. I mean, at one time he was 6'4".
Yes.
Running a 4.3 something.
Yeah.
Not that that's everything, but when you combine that with what you're seeing on the film, you find out he's 6'2" and he's running like a 4.45. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That changes your perspective.
Right.
So I think this is good value. I had him late first, early second.
But I mean, you said that before, as far as like 6'4" to 6'2". Like, to clarify, he didn't literally go from 6'4" to 6'2".
No.
He had a measurement at 6'4"
right.
that turned out maybe to be
official.
closer to the truth. Yeah, closer to the truth.
Because we really didn't know. Because in college, how they and he was at 6'4". I'm thinking, wow, this is a whole different ball game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like this. The Chargers, they're definitely giving their quarterback a lot of. Herbert.
Yeah.
They're giving him the weapons. That's for sure. That's another thing with Herbert. I like Herbert, but I mean, you're gonna get additional. Now we don't know what's gonna happen with the running back spot.
Right.
They better address that if they don't know what they're gonna do, because they're running back.
They're committing to Eckler, though, are they not? I think they are.
The latest I had, it was still up in the air.
Okay.
getting a little late in the ball game. You got to
Okay.
figure something out. But as long as they retain the running back spot and they have this addition,
Right.
they got a decent defense.
Right.
Make some additions. Ain't it time we start asking about what's going on with Herbert? I like Herbert. I think he's a top 5 talent.
In what sense?
As far as a thrower, a pure thrower. I mean,
There were questions coming out of college, but he, to me, has overcome a lot of the questions that were on him.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really care for him coming out of Oregon.
A lot
to
of
be
people
honest
didn't.
with you.
But it's like
He's overcome a lot of that. I don't know what would change. Yeah, I couldn't really tell you. But the bottom line is, he shows that he's an elite thrower of the ball, and he does have movement. But I'm going to myself, how come we're not getting past, like, they're not getting deep in the playoffs?
But like, and this is one of these things where,
Is he a
and
Marino?
I'm critical. I might be about to do something that I'm critical of media types doing when I see it on TV or hear it on the radio, and that's engaging in mysticism about stuff. And you get a lot of mysticism, maybe more so than any other market, living where we live. Only in Cleveland could that happen. You know, all that kind of crap, right? Okay, you get a lot of that
Where'd
crap
that come
from all the hacks, all the worst
yeah,
types. Only in Cleveland. Unfortunately, you're probably hearing it again about the Cavs collapse in the first round, which has me not very happy at the moment. I'm not a happy camper.
Well, from some of the people on the Twitter, because I'm not so much of a Cavs basketball guy. I'm hearing it ain't looking too good.
I live or die with the
future-wise.
Cavs. I don't buy that crap. I mean, we have a great core. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. The CBA was reworked to where they can now throw max deals at Mobley and Mitchell, even though they have Garland on a max, so that they can have 3 supermax guys going forward. They're keeping the core. It's all good. Don't panic, people.
I know this is a draft.
But this is, yeah.
But I do got to ask. I'm just curious.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when it comes to Garland, because I really haven't watched him that much. Some people I talk to says he has the killer instinct.
Yeah.
Does he?
He's come into his own. He really, really has.
Is he a championship type?
I think
is he
is.
a point guard?
Yes. He can be a championship caliber point guard. But I mentioned that the only in Cleveland crap. Like, I'm critical of media mysticism, and I don't want to do this, but like
media what?
The whole like mysticism thing. When you
I
start
just wanted to hear
talking
you
about
say it
things that are like, not connected to any kind of concrete reality.
Right.
But I see Justin Herbert, and I think back to Phillip Rivers, and I think back to Dan Fouts. What have any of those? Those are, and listen,
Don Coryell.
amazing quarterbacks. How many Super Bowls did they win?
Well, see, that's what I'm.
How many AFC championships? Stan Humphries got their only AFC championship.
This might almost sound sacrilegious because he's still young in his career.
Okay.
But like, what's his ceiling? Like,
he can.
I mean, like,
look, we live in a world where, and again, it's.
But do you know what I mean?
For Eli Manning, it was only just a matter of consistency. But Eli Manning, when he would be at the top of his game, he had 2 Super Bowl rings. The funny thing is, you look at when those were. 2008 in the winter, 2012 in the winter. I used to say back in the Sports Talk Network days that Eli Manning was he was the greatest quarterback in the world if he could be playing past the Iowa caucuses. Because in those presidential years...
Are you trying to say in a nice, like, kind of way that he had some limitations?
Well, here's the thing. He was inconsistent as hell, but at the top of his game, he was... I mean, not as good as his brother, but like the classic quarterbacks you think about as far as good enough, we can definitely win a Super Bowl with this guy, leading the way. Eli Manning at his best could be that guy, but he had consistency issues. But you look at other things. You look at Nick Foles,
Rick,
who just got hot for a while. You look at...
I got to get your take real quick before this comes in. Okay, the Ravens are up, the picks in. Are they going receiver?
They should. They absolutely should.
Who would you say? You got about 10 to 15 seconds.
I think that would be who I did have them taking here in my mock. Which
I don't see anything here as far as receiver.
Did I have them taking Zay Flowers? I think I might have.
I don't see the value. What about they got Andrews.
Well, I had them taking Emmanuel Forbes, so that didn't happen. But
they got Andrews, but I'll tell you what, a tight end be nice.
Yeah.
Tight end be nice.
Could be Jordan Addison.
What's their needs, Baltimore?
Well,
defensive back, a lot of corners.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, You can play.
Linebacker.
Well, the last team to try and
You
pull off.
do got a quarterback there, by the way.
Yeah.
Is
They.
Anthony still on the Anthony Richardson?
We're now.
Could you- now that would be a good one.
We've now moved to the self mockery
Yeah,
phase,
yeah.
which we are
Could you
qualified to
imagine that
do.
one somehow?
That would be
good.
that would be amazing.
That'd be, yeah.
Jordan Addison in the spot, Zay
Ooh,
Flowers. Oh,
let's
here's the
see.
thing though, Zay Flowers. Like, don't they have enough small guys? So
Dude,
yeah,
I
I
have
would-
none of them guys at all in the first round.
None
of them.
You probably don't
None
have
of them.
Jonathan Mingo in that spot then
No,
either. So,
no.
any of those guys I think could play there. I don't love your whole tight end thing because it's a thing where
They got
teams
Andrews.
doing
And
doing
there's
the
a
two
ton of
stud.
them. There's a ton. Of
Yeah,
them.
that,
I think they're gonna have to go corner.
I-
D line or corner.
I'd still
That's
go
where
wide
the value
receiver
is.
if I was them.
I
And
just, boy, I don't see the value. Don't.
Zay Flowers.
Wow.
All right. Well, all right. I love it because at least it's a tiny guy.
I mean, I like the guy.
Hasn't worked out well for tiny
Wow.
guys there. Like Bateman has been really a disappointing player to this point.
Well,
I mean,
okay. Now you know where I had Bateman
where?
way back when?
Where?
Second, third round.
Yeah.
Guess where I got Zay Flowers?
Where?
Second, third round.
Okay. Here's
I
hoping
mean,
you're right again.
I like the guy.
Yeah.
I think on this pick they were maybe like anticipating
Yeah.
that their quarterback's going to be back, Lamar.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to make get on his good side
Yeah.
along with the OBJ signing, but boy, they I think they really pushed on this one.
The other thing too, I'm like the whole thing about that the
Hey Jason, if you're still out there, I want to hear your thoughts on this one if you can.
the
hit
thought
us
that
up.
the OBJ signing might have had anything to do.
Yeah, what was
with this,
that was
like,
wow.
Does anybody even know what he's going to look like coming off a knee surgery now, being a player in
And
his
is he a
30s?
number one?
At this point, I'm not sure.
I mean, he might be, but
I'm not sure. And
see
that-
the fact that you had to say that. Think about that.
Well,
You know
I
what
mean, I don't think he is, because in today's league, there's never been more of a depth of number ones anywhere. Oh, Steve Smith Sr., what a lazy comp for NFL Network.
They're not even the same guy.
No, they're not. I mean,
Wow. He's an underneath guy. Steve Smith was underneath and could go over the top.
say what you will about Zay Flowers, but I mean, this guy could outsprint Steve Smith Sr. 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Like, I don't
Right.
get it. Yeah.
Say that again.
You don't think he could beat him in a foot race?
I mean today?
I would
Yeah,
say
today.
I would say prime for prime. I don't know.
You do realize Steve Smith was a legitimate 4-3 guy.
Yeah, I still
Rick!
I think this guy could beat him though. I mean, I think,
Hold on. What's Zay Flowers? Let's look him up.
Well,
4-4-2. There's a difference between like 4-3-8 and 4-4-2, Rick.
okay.
It don't sound like a lot, but
It's
it shows up on the field too.
yeah, I don't know. To
mean-
me he looks like a faster player, but it's like they got enough
Wow.
guys who,
I'd say
I would have gone for a guy with a little more substantial physique than this guy, because I mean, Bateman's not as small as him, but Bateman's not a big boy either.
Well, the thing
he's
with
had trouble
Bateman,
staying healthy.
He's kind of like the first thing I can think of is like the Twilight Zone, kind of stuck.
Yeah.
He's a big guy without a lot of speed.
I don't think he's that big. I mean, you think
He's like
6'1"'s
6'1",
not that big.
6'2".
I mean,
I mean, he's like
he's
in
not
the mid-
6'2".
he's
not
in the
6'2".
mid-range, you know?
He's not 6'2". He's
Okay,
so
when you think of Bateman,
when
let me ask you this.
when I referred to Bateman before as tiny, like I had to look it up here, and I was like, he's not tiny. I retract that.
But he's not
6'1"'s not
big
big.
neither.
And here's the thing. Here's why
Look
I
at
thought
this.
of him as
These-
being.
these are two
I
different
thought of
guys.
Bateman as being tinier than he is because he's
Wow.
fragile. I mean,
So
Bateman,
now we're saying Zay Flowers is a potential Hall of Famer. Wow.
I
I mean,
don't.
what are we talking about?
I don't. I mean,
They're not even in the same.
I don't see that.
You know what? I mean, Smith was tenacious.
Yeah.
They don't even play the same type of game.
Right.
I mean, and I like Zay Flowers.
Right.
Like I said, had they got him in the second, third round,
It's a
I'm
lazy
always-
comp.
Well, I mean,
But
come
that's
on.
they're throwing up all the receivers there, and it's
Yeah,
like
well, I mean, that's
Beckham. At this point, he's a name, right? What's there behind the name?
When
I mean-
they had what was it? Hollywood. What's his name? the kid from Oklahoma that they.
Oh,
sent to-
Brown, yeah. Boy, that
What a joke.
that was the biggest ripoff deal of all time. Getting
Yeah,
the 23rd pick
I
from
know.
Arizona. Holy
I
crap!
couldn't believe that.
What was Arizona thinking?
Well, look at them right now. Their situation.
Right.
they're-
I mean, unfortunately, didn't stop me from taking
Wow.
Hollywood Brown in one of my 2 fantasy
as
leagues
we're
last
talking,
year.
and they show Willis or what's his name, the quarterback there.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised. Now, look, I had him actually in the second round, but for the draft and everything that's going on, man, I didn't see this.
Right. I don't think
come
anybody
on,
did.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, now, like I said, the thing I like about him, the one thing I did like about him out of all the quarterbacks, once he did break into in the running mode, I think he was the best runner.
Yeah.
The guy is a football player.
Right.
The problem is, though, you know where he does remind me of, what's the Bills quarterback, Josh?
Allen.
And I hate to say this. Josh Allen is an excellent talent, but have you ever noticed, especially in the big games, he always has to make a couple of boneheaded plays?
Yeah.
Now, I would take him like yesterday. Don't misunderstand. He's that guy
Right.
with
And-
less talent, kind of like you get talented
Yeah.
fella.
Well,
but the boneheaded plays, wow.
and Josh Allen, it's a little more obvious than like my critique of C.J. Stroud before I came around on him. It was much more of a subtle thing. It wasn't so much bonehead plays in the big games. It was
Yeah.
not
I
rising
know
to the
what
occasion.
Yeah.
But with Josh Allen, sometimes it can be, an
But don't
interception.
get me wrong. I'll take him.
Yeah. Right.
What
But-
I'm saying is, though, when we're in the fourth quarter,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be with 3 minutes to go.
Right.
Don't be taking chances that ain't necessary.
Right.
Get one.
That is true.
And that's kind of what I'm seeing with him. Now,
Yeah.
if it pieces together,
right.
you got you something. You
Yes.
got a franchise. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
Right.
But those type of characteristics, they normally don't leave.
Right.
They haven't left Josh, and he's still a top 5 guy.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? But you better, when you're, whoever selects the guy, you have to know what you're getting.
Yes. And this is a situation here with Minnesota. They have been linked in a lot of quarters, particularly with the Kirk Cousins contract and the fact
Wow,
that, again,
I
it is
think-
going to come up here at a certain point. They have been linked to Hendon Hooker as far as somebody where, because
Well,
they
you
could
keep
afford.
bringing up that Hendon
They could
Hooker.
afford the red shirt kind of a look. And again, I'm a Tennessee honk, guilty as charged. But you can't tell me Hendon Hooker wouldn't have been a top 15 pick in this draft, slam dunk, had it not been for the injury.
I
here.
gotta tell you, I'd have to take. Well, I don't know, man.
And I think he's got who do you think's got a higher ceiling, him or Levis?
Levis.
Okay, I disagree.
You know what? I think
All right,
Hooker's
agree to disagree.
devout. No, I think Hooker's got a how do they say, a higher floor. I think you
Okay.
know more what you're getting. I think the upside.
Levis is the more likely to turn into Ryan
you
Leaf.
know, I'll tell you what. Levis is that stallion, that wild stallion.
Okay,
That's what he is. I mean, he could be a boomer bust type guy.
well,
but to be the top guys,
right.
you
But for Levis, he's getting into a range here
Yeah,
where
no, we're-
teams
yeah.
that don't need
yeah.
quarterbacks, essentially. I mean, outside of, New Orleans at 29, but they just soldered themselves to Derek Carr for whatever reason.
Well,
So-
I heard that could be a 1 year.
Okay, well, and
That's
they
what I-
might
but
have
I
some
thought-
outs.
I don't know. Man. That was what did you think about that signing? It's
I
not-
was underwhelmed.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
was
know.
it an improvement over what they had? Yeah, but
You can't
like,
get mad.
and then
about
like
it.
Las Vegas making the pick of Jimmy Garoppolo, like what that reminded me of.
Yeah.
And I know you're not necessarily a fan of The Office. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
I know The Office.
Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme of Pam Beasley holding up 2 pictures and she goes, "They're the same thing."
Oh,
Like-
yeah, I know what you. Yeah.
Las Vegas got rid of Derek
Yeah, I
Carr
know.
to sign Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to tell me what the upgrade is there?
Well, I heard. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about selecting maybe Richardson,
Okay,
and the guy goes,
it wasn't Alex Jones, was it?
I can't. No.
Okay,
No.
all right.
And the guy goes, well, we got Garoppolo. And I'm thinking to myself, the fact that you even said it like that.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
not
good.
to downplay Garoppolo. 'Cause
Right.
He is what he is.
Right.
But when the Mahomes come into town,
Right.
I mean, okay, here we
Yeah.
go. What do you think? What are you calling?
All right. Well,
Wow,
that's interesting.
wow.
All right. So there's your Adam Thielen replacement, Jordan Addison.
Wow.
I mean,
I
I ain't mad at that.
Well, if I remember right, I had him late second, third.
At the risk of being deemed retrograde by the younger generation here, I do have to look somewhat askance. There's that word again. At that pink suit that he's wearing.
I kind of like it.
That's
He can pull it off a little bit.
like,
I wouldn't wear it, but I mean,
as far as pulling it off, dare I say, Jordan Addison, you, sir, are no Brett the Hitman Hart.
though I will
as far
say
as
this: the bow tie is a little bit off.
yeah.
You got to hit him on the points on that.
He doesn't have the right shade. Bret Hart had the right shade of pink. If you're going to do pink, do it the Hitman's way. Which, by the way, side note on wrestling here while we're talking about this, one of the funniest things between me and you over a period of time is going back to the FDH Lounge Pantheon, and I think we are going to have another voting
like
thing
the
for the
Pantheon,
Pantheon here this
yeah.
year. We were voting on our favorite tag teams of all time here. You were literally the only person I would ever know in a million years that you voted for the Powers of Pain.
Yes, no
as your
question.
favorite
I
tag
was just
team.
gonna say that.
And that's a
Yeah.
thing where, like, Powers of Pain,
I loved him.
they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything for me. Here's the thing, though, because the Warlord.
And I'm not a wrestling
to me,
guy, but I love the Powers
like,
of Pain.
to me, the Warlord was just, and I understand he's a nice guy in real life and everything like that. The Warlord did nothing for me. He was just a big roid guy, whatever. But like,
Who cares?
my favorite, but like, I didn't find him entertaining.
I
Like,
loved
he
it.
couldn't move in the ring, whatever. But like,
Who
my
cares?
favorite under the
Are you talking
radar.
about Jordan Addison, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Warlord. My favorite under the radar tag team of all time, though, is the Faces of Fear, which is the Barbarian and Ming, because those are two Samoan guys out there beating ass. Being
I know
athletic.
the names, but I
Like,
can't picture.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I'm not a Faces of fan, or I'm not a Powers of Pain fan, but I'm a big Faces of Fear fan, and it's one of the same two guys. That's what's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm hearing
like, I don't like
everything.
your tag team because of one of the guys.
I'm hearing everything you're saying, Rick,
But the Faces of Fear are much better.
This Addison selection.
Yeah.
Wow. They
Yeah.
blew it.
You think they blew it?
They blew it.
I mean,
They blew it.
They
blew
you,
it.
You got a
when
guy
you, okay,
where,
let me ask you this: when you think of Jordan Addison, what comes to mind?
I mean,
See, that's what I'm saying.
I like
There
his,
is no one thing that you see. That's not a good sign.
But here's the thing, though, and this is what I love between me and you, is we can look at something.
the fact
but
that
it's-
you went.
And you've said that
Come
about
on,
that saying.
come on.
But here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying about that. I'm saying I
Who's
like.
got the pinker?
Wow.
Yeah.
Who wore it better, him or Melissa Stark? But
Probably have to go with the Stark system.
I would agree as well.
The system of the Starks.
Yes. We're both red-blooded males. We'll give
I'll
it to
tell
her.
you. I'll tell you something
But-
else. I might actually incorporate her.
Oh, okay. There you go.
You think we can get her into the FDA lounge?
That would be
Okay,
great.
so-
We've had on a number of profound, great sportscasters.
You know, if I was
previously.
there, I would ask
Melissa
her.
Starks, hit us up.
I would say, Melissa, is it okay if we incorporate you?
Yeah.
What do you-
Hit us up. We'd love to interview
how do
you
you
on the
think
show.
she would take that if I said that to her?
I think we've got references.
Would I get slapped?
We've got references.
Or would she go-
We could say go ask Cynthia Freeland. She had a great interview on the show here. You know, we have references.
Yeah.
But as far as it goes here with Addison, you're saying nothing stands out. I'm saying I like his all-around game. We're kind of both saying the same thing, but in
You know,
different ways.
Rick,
You're saying nothing stands out.
I think that was a little bit of a cop-out.
But you're saying there's nothing I really like about his game.
No,
I'm saying,
no.
I'm
Now,
saying there's
see,
nothing
Rick,
there's
now,
nothing I
see,
dislike.
I-
Okay,
you
well,
know-
okay.
you know what I really
All
like
right,
about
all
his
right.
game?
I don't want to.
If he was in the second,
I don't want to put words in your
in the
mouth.
late second, I like
When
his
you say
game.
nothing jumps out at
Yeah.
you about him,
He's not a speed guy.
okay,
He's not what I would call a consistent separator.
right?
He's really
But,
not.
But I look at him I just look at him as a guy who's above average in a lot of ways. So it's like
is that
we're
a
both.
first round guy?
I think potentially.
You know,
I mean,
okay. Here's how I envision him. He's he's a mid to excellent number 2 receiver.
but,
Is that
but
what you take in the first round?
well,
Rick,
maybe
Rick,
maybe not.
Your face is.
Maybe. Well,
I mean,
I would have taken Hendon Hooker if I was them. I would have taken Hendon
Wow.
Hooker, but here's the thing though. Here's what I will say about that is
I would have took Levis.
well, but here it becomes a matter of fit because Hooker's a guy where he has to be a redshirt
You love
guy.
that Hooker, don't you?
Well, but
Okay, let's agree on this. They
but
should have
like,
took a quarterback.
but what
right?
I'm saying is most of these quarterbacks here on this level, I mean, and the level kind of ends with Levis and Hooker.
Right.
Hooker doesn't count because he's hurt, but anybody that's on that level is going to want to play right away. If you draft Levis, that introduces something into your locker room here of like you got the next guy, but Cousins is still your lame duck guy. Whatever, you have less lame duckitude, if you want to call it that, if you have Hendon Hooker,
I like that.
because even he could be 2 years away. You could even redshirt him another year after that. All these things
he'd be more palatable.
Well, all these things you're saying about Addison, I'm saying all you need is for him to be in that. You know who you need for him to be in that offense? You need him to be the version of him before he went downhill a bit. Adam Thielen. I think he can be Adam Thielen opposite Justin Jefferson. I think he can do that. That's why I don't have a problem with it. He's not necessarily the guy I would have taken, but I'm not as down on it as you are. I would just say that. Not as down.
You know, here's the thing. I really don't like. I don't. Get off. Bringing up these guys' weaknesses because I think he's a good player.
Well, again, like I said before, you're in the weeds. You're the one guy out there. Right. You understand the intricacies of their game. So these aren't like criticisms just to be criticisms. No. These are things of like, this is what I picked up and observed from my film
Here's
study.
one thing I would say. Mm-hmm. Let's say you get taken in the 3rd round. Not Addison, but whoever.
Yeah.
Do you realize you're top 100 player in the whole country?
Oh, of course.
I think people aren't getting the magnitude of it. So even if I say somebody should go in the 3rd round, really? Mm-hmm. Let's think about what we're really talking about. Right. You're a top 100 guy.
Yes.
Out of an entire class.
Yes. That is saying a lot.
I mean, So, I'm a value guy.
Yeah. Oh, I am too.
So I stick to the value. So, do I like Addison? Yeah, I really do. I think he's another guy that I think is a professional receiver.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. You say professional receiver, you
really
talk about
that.
these things like that was Adam Thielen, wasn't it?
No.
I mean,
and he had a little extra too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, to think that he can, I mean, if he can go in there and he can give what Adam Thielen gave for most of his run there, they'll take it and be happy.
Right.
Because that's the whole thing. He's going to be opposite Justin Jefferson. He's just got to be able to keep the defense honest. Deonte Banks here goes to the Giants with their selection.
Are we going to get a run with the tight ends and the cornerbacks?
I think so.
Because I mean, at this point, there's just too much value here.
And here's what's hilarious to me as I'm looking at the mock drafts for me and for Jason. Now, I had Deonte Banks going 17 to Pittsburgh. Jason, being the ginormous Maryland honk that he is, my goodness, he didn't have him going in the 1st round. Props to you, Jason, for being. You were not being a homer on this at the very least.
I can't get too deep in the woods on this one because I didn't get a good deep eval on Banks.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna try to say something.
Sure.
Now the little bit I've seen, I like his physicality.
Yes.
He's a competitive guy. He's athletic. He does kind of come off as like a Steelers, Ravens type guy.
Yeah.
His mentality.
Although, and this is one of these things where elite tester, as they're showing on the NFL Network right now, like that's all. Is that not almost a backhanded compliment? Like workout warrior, like.
I'll be honest with you, the combine stuff. The only thing I deal with the combine is just to get results as far as basic stuff.
Right.
I'm not even into the broad jump and stuff.
Sure.
Because most of that you can see on the field.
Right.
When I say quick twitch, normally that means you got a quick short area burst.
Yeah.
That means I don't need to see that you have you know what I mean? I can see it on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that run like maybe a 4.5, 4.6, but yet they're good in short area.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, Zay Flowers, for instance, I'm glad I just hit me. He's not a long speed kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he succeeds in the underneath and intermediate, because he's a quick, energetic type of guy in
Right.
small areas. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, you get him in space against a good athlete that knows how to cover. Now you're putting him at a disadvantage.
Well, yeah.
You see it? Now, that doesn't mean he can't win from time to time.
Right.
But the percentages say
Sure.
he's not going to be able to consistently do that. But like I always say too, if you're going to have a player, don't be so concerned with his weaknesses. Let's play to his strengths.
And that's
So why
absolutely
would you
what you
put
got
him
to
at
do.
the edge?
Right.
That's not what you get.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to get overly concerned.
Right.
Even Jackson Smith.
Right.
We know he's not a conventional X.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Why am I going to have Tom Brady doing the sweep play?
Right.
I mean, come on. What are we talking about?
Right. That's a good point.
So we're not, I'm not beating these guys up. What I would say is if you draft somebody over value, what I think at least place them in a position for success.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't
Right.
double it up, putting him as an X
Yes.
when that's not his strength.
Now, as far as the top tier of wide receivers here, we've seen a couple of these other ones go off the board. A note from the FDH Multiverse here, Jason Jones, our senior editor via Facebook. Also, the new After Further Review with Jones website. Check that out, debuting shortly. He says Jalen Hyatt absolutely belongs on the top tier of wide receivers. So that's an
Wow.
interesting point, because not everybody agrees with that.
Yeah. Jason, I wish you were up here on the panel so we could go back and forth. Because, I'm just the opposite.
Okay.
I think Jalen Hyatt is more of a combine-ish guy at this point. I look at him more like a developmental guy.
Okay.
I like his speed. And the one thing you notice at Tennessee that I liked about it, when he was throwing the ball, he had good separation
Yes.
consistently.
Yes.
Now, that isn't just all speed.
Yes.
I mean, that is the SEC. So I do got to give him credit as far as that goes. The problem I had was the intricates.
Okay.
Not good body adjustment. Adjusting to balls that may be thrown outside of the normal catch radius. After the catch was kind of limited, unless he was getting hit in stride. I'm talking about in stop and go situations where you got to regenerate. Not the best situation for him. So he's one dimensional and he's development. Now those two hits right there are going to drop you considerably for me. He's not a guy to me that can go in any system, come in right away and just.
And yet, for as much Rocky Top football as I watch, would it surprise you to know that my point of view is a little closer to my man Jason Jones's than yours on this?
Really?
You might have guessed
Really?
that, perhaps. Yeah, exactly.
And I hope the best for the guy. Don't mix it,
Exactly.
And where did he go again?
He
He hasn't been selected.
he has not been selected yet. And
So right now the scout's looking pretty decent, Jason.
yeah, well, although again, he
I
can
had
go in
to
any
do
of
that
these
one.
picks, and that's where
No, he can
See-
still get took in here.
he could. And this is one of these situations where
Buffalo. Wow. Running
This is-
back. I don't think they can do it. There's nobody right now.
no, they can't.
I don't see anybody that's going to be worth that.
I stuck my neck
What
out there.
about tight end?
Okay, yeah.
Dude, I mean, they can use a tight end, right?
Right. It's kind of a black
They got
hole.
the one guy. What's his name? He's pretty good. They got a tight end. I can't think of his
They,
name. He's
yeah,
pretty
I
decent.
know who
He's
you're
pretty
saying. It's
Well, I'll tell you,
Knox, Dawson Knox.
No,
but,
he's pretty good.
I mean, he's okay.
Yeah.
He's not above average. So it's
Yeah.
like if you're going to take any again, this is a really good
This is
tight
good
end
value.
draft.
This
Yeah,
is good. Now it's
good value at tight end, but it's a thing of like in the second round, I'd definitely be looking running back if I was them because they have to do something about that. That has
Well,
been
he
an
can't keep
ongoing
running.
issue.
That's the one thing about Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
As much as he's I like his
Right.
footballish. He's a football guy
Right.
that happens to be playing quarterback.
Right.
And I appreciate his running ability, but he cannot.
Right.
Look at Cam Newton.
Right.
You want to go down that stretch?
Well, and that's the thing, like of having like Singletary, somebody that's not really between the tackles here. That's okay. Our quarterback does a lot of the running back stuff.
You don't-
That
you
doesn't
don't-
work.
You can't keep. No.
Well, and that's the thing too. And then like I'm glad that I can say this and I can make this criticism about Josh Allen on this thing because to be honest with you, and this is the FDH Lounge where we're honest about these types of things or whatever. Of like, I'm so happy to say this and make this criticism of Josh Allen and the way that he's used. Not so much him, but the way that he's used. Because to be honest with you, and there they go, Dalton Kincaid. I think that definitely will help them as far as having a standout tight end. But it's like, I'm relieved to say it about Josh Allen. To be perfectly honest, and it's a sign of the politically correct times we live in, because I'm criticizing a white guy, because that's not who you're generally making the criticism of. That guy relies too much on his legs.
No.
Who's the last white guy we said that about, right?
No.
Like, that's a thing where it's like, it's so great to make that criticism so we can prove that it's football-based.
And, you know,
it's football-based,
you know,
Scout.
for the longest, one thing, it was, I would say, reverse discrimination, to be quite honest with you. Now, what I have to say is,
like,
well, with the wide receiver position, I would
Sure.
see it. The defensive back position with
Right.
a lot of white guys.
right. And like,
And like, to me, and Edelman is just as much of a Hall of Famer as somebody like you name it.
the only guy I can ever think of that the criticism might have been made about, but I don't think anybody ever made the criticism of him was Steve Young. I don't think anybody ever did. Anybody ever criticize him for running too much?
No.
I don't think so. And it's a thing where
No.
it was like, and I always used to make the joke like back in the Sports Talk Network days because it's a thing of like when they talk about like the black QBs and stuff like that. It could,
Cunningham's, remember?
yes, it could be a thing. He got criticism for that.
Yeah.
But like black quarterback being a thing that's like a stylistic use as well as a literal one. I always used to make the joke, who's the best black quarterback of all time? Using it in the stylistic sense.
Right,
Steve Young.
right.
Because like
Right.
Steve Young, that's like, and that's what they're, he was like a prototype of like today's game.
He
of
really,
like,
you know, he
you want
would
the
be
legs and the
beautiful
arm.
right now.
He would be. He's the prototype. You want the
He
legs
really
and
would
the
be.
arm. And that's
And the
what they want.
toughness.
Yes, the toughness
He did not care.
and everything like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, he had a couple concussions that ended his career. Maybe he was too fearless.
I don't think he remembered it.
But it's a thing where he might not have. He might not have. But that's like
that was a
yeah. But that's dude. Looking at like his 91 to
I
94
do take
stretch.
concussion serious.
Yes.
No,
No.
you don't know.
I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah, but
That's a guy. Here's a hot take. I think he's a borderline top 10 quarterback of all time. I do actually believe that based on his
no question about
based
it.
on his height there.
Now I'll
on
tell
that,
you
but it's
something
like,
else.
Mm-hmm.
I love Montana, and matter of fact, I'll tell you what. I can't off the top of my head. I got him in my top 5.
Yeah. Oh,
I really do.
That's not a hot
I'd
take.
have to really like.
Most people have Montana 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, but now, man, couldn't Steve Young almost be there?
He probably.
I
could.
mean, it depends on your style.
He probably could. Well, and here's something that's a hot take anywhere outside the North Coast. North Coast, maybe not so much. You know who's in my top 5? Otto Graham. Slam dunk, baby.
Well,
Slam dunk. Wore these colors and got it done. That's not the reason I have him in the top 5, but honestly, it doesn't hurt. To be honest with you, it doesn't hurt.
no, you know, you were on a roll, and I like it. But I do got to ask.
I have a lot of quarterback hot takes, buddy.
whenever they show Jerry Jones and Dallas is
Yeah.
up, do we really know what they're gonna do? Because they better not take a running back.
They could do
They
anything.
better not do that because I do not see the value on the board.
They
for
could
a
do
running
anything.
back.
I mean,
What do they need?
Jerry
What do they need?
Jones, like, anytime the Cowboys are on the clock, literally anything could happen, up to and including.
He's a wild card.
Up to and including Jerry Jones bum rushing the stage, grabbing the mic and yelling, "I just shot a bitch in the face." I mean, anything can happen when Jerry Jones is in the house.
Now, you know, looking on the list that you made up,
Uh-huh.
I would say
They got a lot of needs.
yeah,
They got more needs than
D-back,
most people think.
Okay, here's where I think the quality is still.
Mm-hmm.
With the list that you have, there's definitely still quality defensive backs.
They need help
Definitely
all over the
O-line.
defense.
You know, every one of these positions still has quality.
Yeah. That's like
Is this running back?
yeah.
Okay.
That
okay. No.
your
Well,
printer had a little malfunction.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna hold off on that running back.
Yeah.
But other
that's-
than the running back, they definitely need D back, O line, D line, linebacker, and tight end.
Yeah, they
You
could
know-
use help at any of those positions. They're not necessarily
Tight
bad.
end. You know, they
at
got
any of
rid
those
of their tight
positions.
end.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think
where
that's where they might be going.
could be going here. Could be the start of a tight end
Yeah,
run. It could be.
yeah.
That is possible. But you know,
But there's so much
It's-
O-line available.
Yeah, O-line,
I mean,
yeah.
linebacker, for God's sakes.
everybody
You-
except
you-
Will
yeah,
Anderson.
well.
Well, and, you know.
One of the top inside linebackers
Well.
in 223.
This is going to be our recurring
Oh,
motif.
my
There's
God.
another
This is
one.
archive.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Because either I'm going to look good or I'm going to ask you to delete this. One or the
there's
other.
there's no deleting this,
Oh,
pal.
boy.
Episode 153, brother.
How about I buy the
waited-
rights out there?
We waited almost 12 years to do episode 153.
Ain't
I'm
that
not sure it
something?
was ever going to happen again.
Wow.
But here's the thing. You can't call what we're doing tonight a mini episode. We moved from the format at the station of where... Now, I realize tonight this is one topic, same as the mini episodes. But it's a thing where this is so long.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut
so
you off.
ongoing.
You know how I am, Rick.
Yeah.
But, when Jerry starts giving the handshake and they say the pick is in, what do you call it? I'm going tight end. I think I gotta go tight end because they let their tight end go in free agency, if I remember. Right.
You know what? I had him taking Sam Laporta. I'm just going to roll it over, baby.
I mean,
Doubling down on Sam Laporta.
Hey, put it this way: it wouldn't be the craziest thing we've
Yeah.
seen tonight.
Yeah. For all you degenerates out there, go get a Sam Laporta ticket from your
When
sports
is the last
book.
time an inside linebacker got taken at number 3?
Even Patrick Willis didn't
Wow.
go 3, bro.
Oh my goodness, the Texans. Well, they do
Oh,
have
man.
a defensive coordinator at coach,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, well.
I mean he's making it stamp.
Clearly,
I'll
they
tell
don't
ya.
see him as that, and that's a thing where it's a franchise where listen between J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney when he had things going his way, Mario Williams back in the day, and that's the whole thing. The notion that they wouldn't take a quarterback at 2, I said to you, this is reminiscent of on the 06 show at the Sports Talk Network, the 14-hour show Jason Jones and I did from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time when this was all on a Saturday. We buried Houston for not taking Reggie Bush. And like
Right.
4 years later, we had Charlie Casserly on the show, and he had no idea what we had said at the time. But I owned up to it. I sacked up because that's who
What did
I
he
am.
say?
And I said to Charlie Casserly, I said, sir, I was one of the people. I was critical. I thought it should have been Reggie Bush. Hey, you were right. I'm here to own up and whatever. And Charlie Casserly, class individual, was like, hey, that's okay. You weren't the only one. A lot of people thought that.
Oh, it
was
was
a close
definitely-
call. Charlie Casserly couldn't have handled it with more class.
I remember that year. That
Yeah.
was a
Well, like,
very
We all thought he should have been institutionalized at the time. Maybe not you. You.
Well, yeah,
You had some
well,
questions about Reggie Bush as a
yeah.
between the tackles running back, as all of us should have more. The funny thing is, as I said to you off air, when New Orleans won the Super Bowl, for like a month there, that's who he was.
Yeah.
He had like a
Yeah.
month of being that guy.
No. Okay, here we go. The
All right.
selection.
All right. I'm like I said, I'm rolling it over. Oh,
Wow.
Smith.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Now, I can't comment much on this one.
Yeah.
The last time I evaluated Mozzie Smith was the year before, prior to.
Okay.
So, I mean, I heard some good things about him. I heard he's a space eater.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean. Well, if he's a space eater, they're in trouble because they need more active play out of that. Of course, you watch the highlight film they're running on
Wow.
NFL Network, and there's a lot of
I'm
big
going to tell you
plays.
something. There's a lot of guys on the board here. There's a lot of guys on the board still.
Yeah.
I just.
Well, I mean, you get to like 15 in the first round, if that, and it's relatively interchangeable down
Yeah,
to what, maybe
yeah.
about 40 overall. So the beginning of the second round tomorrow night.
Man,
So-
I'm just looking at the defensive tackles in there.
I mean, this is kind of consensus for where he should go. I was kind of an outlier in that I didn't have him going in the first round, but I would have had him going at the top of the second round if I was doing a mock that lasted to that. Jason had him going 29 to New Orleans. So, this range of like 25 to 32, 33, 34 is where most people probably had him. So, not a bad pick. It's an area of need. Dallas had needs in that area. Defensive line, they had to shore it up. So, I mean, it's not a sexy pick, but again, Dallas has more holes than you think. And I know that I don't know if this friend of ours is watching this podcast live or not, but our good friend Maya Master Cowboys fan extraordinaire, no doubt shaking her fist violently at the screen as I'm saying that. Sorry, Maya, it's true. I ain't gonna lie to you. I've always been straight with you, like I've always been straight with everybody. Cowboys got more holes on that defense than people think, and this is gonna help somewhat.
You know,
This is something to plug it up a little bit.
I'm looking over the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing Miles Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing, from Clemson. I'm seeing Nolan Smith from Georgia.
Yes, he should be gone.
I mean, I'm seeing, let me see, Byron Young, who from Tennessee, who is my top edge rusher.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can never say this Northwestern guy.
Yeah, don't even try.
Definitely, let's call him Double A.
Yeah.
Double A. 6'2", 280. Kind of like the kid that came out of...
I find my hand
Pitt.
curling into this position whenever anybody says double A, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm scratching my head with some of these picks.
Well, no, and look, and to me, here's a guy who's, guilty by association because of who his old man is, but let's just say it, Joey Porter Jr. A lot of people thought he'd be gone by now.
Well, I
So-
did have him in the second.
Yeah.
But
you did, okay.
I didn't see him going in the second.
Yeah. As far as players available here, there are not too many in a given space of time. So it's kind of rare to get anybody in the first round that anybody thinks of as being a potential difference maker at safety. And yet Brian
Right.
Branch at Alabama, a lot of people feel like he could be that guy.
Now, I wish we had day 2, 3 because I could get in some real nuggets. But Branch, I actually had him in the third round.
Okay.
Now, the reason is he's efficient at everything,
Okay.
but not outstanding at any one thing.
Okay.
I think his best position actually isn't safety or traditional corner. I think he's more of a slot cornerback.
Okay.
He's better in some tight areas. He gets exposed in space,
Okay.
and I feel like at safety he doesn't have good spatial awareness.
All right, here's what I want to ask you about, and take the moment here since apparently this next pick is kind of dragging. They're saying that it's in for the Jaguars, but I'll believe it when I see it. As far as I go back to another safety a couple of years ago, and this is something myself and fellow original dignitary Chris Galloway have talked about on the show. There's a term that I use that I stole from military terminology that I like to use for certain players. And years ago, I saw it in a guy, and he only flashed it occasionally.
Right.
Ha-Ha Clinton Dix was somebody that I referred to as being a force multiplier.
Old Alabama guy.
Somebody who, yes. So somebody that you put in there, and when I say force multiplier, he not only does his job, but he occupies enough other attention that he's able to help his teammates be better players because of that. Are there any guys that you see defensively that you feel like could be force multipliers in this draft where they're not only excelling, but they may have a multiplier effect of helping to make their teammates better, whether by luring more attention away from them or somehow or another causing their teammates to be better? Anybody kind of jumping out at you?
I'll tell you what, I think he got overdrafted, but the cornerback Witherspoon.
Okay, Witherspoon could be?
I
Okay.
think he's one of them kind of guys. He doesn't have what you call ideal size
Okay.
at the position, or I don't think ideal athleticism. I think his passion for the game and his attention to detail overcomes a lot of some of the things I'm speaking of which, and his enthusiasm for the game is becomes tenacious for everybody else around him.
Well,
You know what I mean?
and that's admirable because you're talking about a guy that's a cornerback.
Right.
And I don't typically think of a cornerback
Me
as being
neither,
a potential
but
force
that
multiplier.
guy, like I said, I do think he was overdrafted. But the characters he brings, other than athleticism, let's say, is
Okay.
not to be questioned.
Well, this is what I love about this show when we get this kind of a thing. You wouldn't normally expect to see a cornerback. I wouldn't normally expect to hear it.
Right.
And we just had this discussion. That's what I love about this show and how we can dig into this kind of stuff. Anton Harrison, tackle from Oklahoma, goes to the Jags.
Yeah.
And you
Is
get a
that
little
something
more.
they needed?
Yeah.
Well, you can never go wrong with a lineman.
Well,
to me.
yeah, and Trevor Lawrence, continuing to surround him with better players, give him more of the
I'm
help
glad
that he
you brought
needs.
that up, guy, Lawrence. What's your thoughts on him?
That's a guy where it's funny when I said earlier the first guy I thought of in recent years that I thought of as like potentially the best quarterback prospect in the last couple of years was Sam Darnold. But another guy who put in that thing, I believed that about Trevor Lawrence as well. I was drinking the Trevor Lawrence Kool-Aid. Early on with Urban Meyer, not going so well, but you get him away from Urban
Right.
Meyer can be a different story. And again, I don't know because it's interesting because a guy somebody that I feel like he's potentially comparable to in some ways is another guy that I felt like was the best quarterback in several years, and that was Luck in Indianapolis. So I look at it and it's like, and Luck was kind of enigmatic. There's another
Yeah,
word.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he walked that line between greatness and very goodness
Right.
and everything.
Right.
And it's like, isn't that sort of where Trevor Lawrence is right now?
Yeah, he has those traits.
Yeah.
He's almost like the Chargers guy.
Well, yeah, Herbert. Yeah.
What they do is they always have you wanting more.
Right.
You-
Except he beat Herbert in the playoffs. The Chargers choked away that game. The Jags
Well,
clawed back and beat them.
yeah.
So there is that.
And I tell you what, whether they would have won that game or not, I did like seeing that where Trevor was a major part in that
Yes.
comeback.
Yes.
And that does show you something.
As you would expect him to be. And that's the thing where, and you look at the, wide receiver core, and, again, a pretty good year out of Christian Kirk, although they overpaid for him.
Right.
Sorry, Tony Khan. I love your wrestling booking, but you overpaid for Christian Kirk.
He
Let's
did. Yeah.
4 years, $72 million for that guy. I mean, I liked him coming out of college.
And I did too.
You know.
Out of Texas, but he's like he's a excellent number 3, a quality number 2, a number 1.
Right.
Wow. Put it as if you had two Christian Kirks.
Right. Right.
That's not bad. You know
Right.
what I mean? You're not
And like,
complaining.
it's not a fiasco along the lines of but imagine trying to make like Alvin Harper a number 1, as was the case at one point, right?
Yeah.
Or Peerless Price a number 1.
Yeah.
Something should not be attempted.
Yeah. It looks decent on paper, but
Right.
reality.
Right.
Okay, Bengals. What we got going on here?
And this is my Super Bowl pick winner for this
Wow.
season here. And again, listen, Joe
It's
Joe
possible.
Burrow. That's the thing where Jason Jones gets tired of me calling him the honorary Bobcat, but I do call him that.
Why do you call him that, by the way?
Why do I call him that?
The honorary Bobcat?
Son of our defensive coordinator all those years, kid who grew up in Athens. I mean, honorary Bobcat.
Any what? Defensive back, O-line, D-line, tight end, once again. What do you think? D-back, tight end?
I had him taking Darnell Washington. Oh, Miles
I like
Murphy.
this one.
There.
This is good. This is good quality right here. I like this pick. I actually had him in my top 15.
Yeah,
I like this guy.
Yeah.
I like him.
he's a winner.
Yeah. Now the thing about Murphy, which is a little unconventional, what I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I evaluated him, he's a good edge rusher, but I'm not so sure with his lack of technique and lack of bend or elite bend and twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would be a great candidate to move inside the defensive tackle. I know it's not going
At
to
least you didn't say inside linebacker.
Well, I think that's one of the most outstanding selections in the...
Yeah.
Number 3 overall! What did they...
I mean,
What
look,
were they
if
thinking?
he's
I wish they could have consulted me on that one.
well,
That's not good.
is it a reach if he's Patrick Willis or Luke Kuechly? I mean,
well, the speed ain't there, so...
understood.
I
But
mean, I'm trying to make this work for them, but Yeah, I don't think the Texan people's gonna want to hear us keep talking about.
Well, again,
I hope I'm wrong.
There's
I
a pretty
do.
good. There's a pretty good heritage in the 21st century. It's literally the only good heritage they've had, probably, right? Edge rushers. So, he could be the latest in that line.
I tell you, we've had some questionable selections tonight.
Well, you
I
always
wouldn't
do.
say questionable, but eye raising.
Yes.
Eyebrow raising.
Yes.
What I would say about this draft, I would say this is one of the drafts for me that might be one of the all-time non-value drafts.
Okay.
I see a lot of guys being way overdrafted. I mean,
Well, yeah, but theoretically, every time that happens, it leads to a bargain for somebody else, and that's been my
look
biggest.
at the Steelers.
Yeah, well, the Steelers and the Ravens. That's always my criticism of them. Which, by the way, Jason Jones, our senior editor, he had texted before. He had said, please don't let the Ravens pick Addison. And he says, well, that's not much better, actually. So Jason sees Zay Flowers going to them as not being a good thing here. Jason and I always, it's the post-traumatic stress syndrome, always talk about Patrick Queen going to them. And it's just a thing of like, it feels like it's a conspiracy, but it's just dumb teams. And by the way, I have this in my own fantasy football league, okay? And he's a close personal friend of mine, and I won't offend him by saying who he is, but the luckiest mofo in the world. It's a thing of like, you just know that like if there's a player that shouldn't drop to this guy at the end of the second round, the three guys in front of him are going to reach for guys, and it's just going to be a thing of like.
You can see it developing,
You
and
can
there's
see
nothing
it.
you can do.
It's like a car crash that you can't stop. Like,
Those
it's
fantasy
a thing
drafts can kill you.
Absolutely.
'Cause your
I'm
guy
trying to
is
think
right
of like
there.
who would be that guy. Like if it was like late second round and Travis Kelce was still there,
Yeah,
and there'd be like 3 picks in front of this unnamed friend of mine,
yeah.
and then
And
you
you're
see
just
somebody
grasping, you're
like,
just going, no.
I'll take Kareem Hunt. And then the next guy, is gonna be like, and he's gonna
my
top
God.
that somehow, right?
Yeah.
The next
And
guy,
they already got like a running back. So
Yeah.
You're going, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
yeah, and like the next guy up, might go tight end, but like I'll take Dalton Schultz.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, please
He's
don't
a
let this
bargain.
happen. Yeah,
Dude, we're not doing salary.
yeah. Don't
What are
let.
you doing? You know what I mean? The salary cap ain't a factor.
Exactly. Unless you're in a salary league, but we're
Right.
not. We're not talking about that.
Just
crap.
a regular.
We're
Yeah.
talking- It's a regular straight
You
serpentine
don't
draft.
take Schultz over.
And it's like
Come on.
letting guys. It is not cool to let guys drop that should not drop.
But you know what,
and-
Kelsey, talking fantasy, he's
Yeah.
got to be an all-timer.
Of course. And that's where.
Wow.
Look, I'm in a league. Actually, there are 2 sister leagues.
Remember
and like
Priest Holmes?
they're so. Priest Holmes.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Yeah. I rode him to what was the league.
I rode him into the dirt.
Oh yeah. I rode him to a league scoring
I
title
rode
one
him to
year.
retirement.
Yeah. our team scored like the most points in the history of the league the
Oh,
one
my
year with
God.
Priest
Yeah,
Holmes, and then like.
that's- yeah.
But we went like 8-5-1 because we were the unluckiest team ever, and we kept losing in the we lost in the playoffs. But it's a thing where our leagues are so old school that like it's not even mandatory tight ends. Our leagues have never been mandatory tight end, and I took Travis Kelce this past year, early second round. Helped ride him to a title, baby. The Donovan Mitchell welcome wagon, bringing home the championship.
Well,
So-
I was doing good. I think I was the year before.
Uh-huh.
I was riding that Derrick Henry till he got injured.
Oh, yeah.
And it just...
Every year
I
that guy
couldn't
scares
recover.
the piss out of me. It's like he rushed the ball 565 times last year. We're hoping that the workload won't get to him.
And I'm going to tell I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
I kind of feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because, man, and it's nothing against Tannehill. He is
Right.
who he is. But my goodness.
What about, by the way, we can say this. What about all the goofy Titan fans out there that are delusional enough to think he's a better running back than Nick Chubb? Derrick Henry
Yeah,
is a
come on.
fine running back.
No,
He's
he
no Nick
is,
Chubb.
he is.
He is not. No, he is no Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb might be the best running back in the league.
I think the thing with Nick, you know what? I would always here we go with the reference with the baseball.
Okay.
I think when you'd almost have to look at Derrick Henry as a man, who was that fastball guy back in the day?
That fastball
Nolan.
guy. Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where Chubb,
I was wondering if this was going to be a Todd Helton reference.
No.
But, okay.
I'm not that good with the baseball. But no, he's got the
You're not
selection of pitches.
You're not
you
a
know
deep
what I mean?
cuts guy. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you have that selection, it gives you more to work with.
Yeah. How about when Nolan Ryan and J.R. Richard were there at the same time? That was something.
J.R. was no joke, man.
Oh, yeah. And that's
no joke.
Let me tell you something. One of my most prized garments that I have.
Garments?
Garments,
like
yes. There's another word.
I like that.
That because I had drafted in my keeper league George Springer, and I kept him for 10 years in my keeper league.
Who?
George Springer, one of the guys who helped lead him to the World Series.
He wasn't related to Jerry, was he?
He was not. He was not. Rest in peace, Jerry.
I was going to say.
And nobody can tase us for saying that because we're
Right,
not on the set at the NFL draft.
Right.
But George Springer, one of the things I got myself to treat myself for accomplishing a goal previously, the rainbow friggin' swag, buddy. That rainbow jersey is one of the greatest things in sports, brother. I'll show it to you when we get off here. I'll drag it out. That rainbow Astros jersey is the swaggiest
They did
of the
have
swag.
some good stuff back
Oh
in
yeah,
the day, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did.
You know what? Speaking of which, didn't St. Louis used to have nice red, didn't they?
I
remember.
I mean, theirs are basic, but theirs are
But they
like
had
very
some nice,
nice.
clean,
And
good
like,
stuff.
and I know, I think I've always gotten Jason Jones to pop for this reference. One of the classics of it, it's like they got rid of it and they only bring it back on special occasions. You remember the Phillies baby blue from like the Tug McGraw days?
No,
baby
I
blue
don't.
Phillies jerseys. Those were pretty swank as well. But that's. So we're looking at this here.
yeah.
Brian Brees, the pick from Clemson for New Orleans, for a team that, again, quite frankly, I mean,
Was that a need?
yeah, I mean, but that's a thing. Like, they've got a list of needs as long as your arm and mine put together. So, this entire
You know what I would call this pick?
what?
A safe pick.
Yes, and it's the thing where like the NFC South. Like,
Can I ask you something, Rick?
What?
Does safe get you to Super Bowl usually?
no, it doesn't. But it's like, here's the thing. Like,
And I'm not. I like him. I do. But
he's a good player. Right? But I mean, you could have done better because of some of the guys that are falling. I'm gonna say this. Like, here's the question I'm gonna pose about the NFC South. You're looking at a situation here where, I mean, the temptation is to say that it's probably going to be a team 7-10. I say it could be 6-11. I mean, it could be. We could be looking at our first ever 6-11. Like, we've had 7-9 teams in the past.
Are you saying?
Like, who's gonna win this division?
Are you saying Derek Carr is gonna go 6-11?
I mean, that might
That's
be kind.
blasphemy.
I mean, what does that team have? And Dennis Allen.
Well, let's look that up. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, I mean, let's
They got a few receivers.
let's go inside the numbers because this team. I mean, like when you're looking at any kind of star power, Alvin Kamara, aging scat back.
Ain't he gonna get suspended?
He might.
Yeah.
Wait, he's only 27?
Kamara?
CBS Sports is effing with my head. He's not 27, CBS Sports. Alvin Kamara. He's been playing there for like 15 years.
No, he's got to be older than that. He's been there, 5 or 6?
Minimum. Alvin Kamara's not 27. CBS Sports is gaslighting me. There's another word. But, all right, Chris Olave. Okay.
Right.
Michael Thomas, if healthy. But when has that ever been the case?
Right.
Again, an offensive line that, to put it bluntly, is nothing to write home about.
Wow.
You've got ageless wonder Cameron Jordan. Watch, they're probably going to tell me he's 24 years old. 33.
I just seen on here Derek Carr.
Okay.
That's an upgrade.
Yeah, it's an upgrade from what they had. Demario Davis, who, of course, the Browns weren't able to get anything out of when he was here. Marshawn Lattimore, I'll give you that one. But, I mean, this is a thing where...
Ain't he ain't old, but he's starting to get a little, right?
I mean,
He ain't no youngster exactly.
well, he's not. Well, there's
I
20.
didn't know they
See,
had
they're
Bradley
saying
Roby.
26. There's no way Marshawn Lattimore is only 1 year younger than Alvin Kamara. I call BS on that.
Yeah.
CBS is gaslighting
Yeah.
us here. But
Oh
it's
wait,
like,
they do got Pete Warner.
okay, I mean, congratulations. You know.
I don't
All right,
know.
Marcus May. He's legit, but
Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu. But I mean, it's a thing where.
That's who I was trying to think of earlier when
Okay.
I was thinking about Witherspoon.
Okay.
That Tyrone
Is that a guy that you think is kind of, because I kind of see him the same way, kind of a force multiplier.
Yeah,
when
that
he's-
type of
You
thing.
know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, a guy who's not
Yeah.
just not like
Not just his
the league is
position,
full
but bigger
of
than that.
the league is full of good and even great players. But if you're a difference maker that helps those around,
I
you,
will say that about
that's-
Witherspoon.
Okay, all
I
right.
will.
So that
I will. Now, where'd he go? 13.
yeah, somewhere in there. Let's
That was a bit much to me.
Let's access the old draft tracker. I think it
Yeah.
was 13. I to be honest with you, I didn't think so because I had him going 10 to Philadelphia, and I think
Okay.
he would have been, if he could have gone to Philly. I mean, that
But
defense.
they really hit it with that one.
Yeah.
Philly.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
my goodness, that's,
did.
That's not. That might be the pick of the day so far,
It,
off the top,
possibly.
because you never know with the quarterbacks. Who
Yeah.
knows, you know what I mean?
That is true.
But just off the top, quarterbacks not included.
Right.
That selection right there could be.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the ones that we look back on.
Yeah,
I
that-
think.
that could be.
and say that they really got somebody. But ultimately, this is a thing going back here. I'm looking for where Witherspoon went exactly, and some of these things are making it harder to scroll back on. And
I didn't know the
that
Saints
was-
had Bradley Roby.
yeah, they do. I
He's a
mean,
little up
so
there at
they've
this point, I think.
so they've picked up some
Yeah.
good
I
players.
mean, they got nothing that really. Man, they got to start getting Kamara's back replacement here soon.
They do. And
Why did they get Jamal Williams, by the way, in free agency?
that I don't know.
I
That was
don't kind of get that one.
that was kind of a goofy.
Because let's say Kamara can't play for the first 6 games.
Right.
I like Jamal Williams as a good quality backup type guy, but if you got him as your RB1,
Well, and that's the thing.
that's just
And
I
it's
don't understand
not
that.
so much his fault that it happens, but he's a guy who gets asked to be more than he is.
Yeah.
And that's a thing where
Did they pay him good, or
it is.
is he getting a good little shuckle? Or?
Yeah, from what I saw, it was a pretty good deal. So I mean that's
Yeah, Cameron Jordan.
yeah.
I mean, he's a gamer.
It was a thing. I don't know if you ever watched. You would have loved this if you didn't.
Here's one for you, Demario Davis.
Yeah, like I said, who the Browns had and did nothing with. So that's
Did he
a
make
thing.
the Pro Bowl?
Oh yeah,
I
like he left Cleveland and found the fountain of youth, which
the
is
Eagles are up.
generally how it happens. And
Let's get back to this one. Eagles.
there was
What are you thinking on this one?
I had them taking. Well, I had them taking Will McDonald, so that ain't gonna happen.
Well, you had them D-line, linebackers.
They could use linebackers.
O-line, defensive back. Well, they did. You lose, who was that in free agency? Defensive back. Can't think off the top. I'm looking at linebacker, defensive back.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
And it's a
there's
thing
some
where,
quality there.
and as I'm about to, I'm gonna watch myself before I goof on the dog and
What
pony
is
show
this?
here.
What
Yeah, they
is-
got another dog and pony show
Oh,
on stage,
man.
but
Wow.
I already earlier tonight, inadvertently, because obviously we don't have the sound on for this kind of crap, inadvertently goofed on a Make-A-Wish kid. So I'm gonna, as much as these guys to me look like doofuses, I'm not gonna call them that because I've already put my foot in my mouth once tonight.
Yeah, what are they doing?
But it's like, what's their whole?
I'm trying to figure out what that coin.
And that looks
thing
like
is.
Bruce Valanche, the one Hollywood writer there on the left. I'm
Yeah, he
sure
looks
it's not.
like a writer.
I'm sure it's not. It's That's Donna Kelsey. My bad. Whoops! I put my foot in my mouth again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nolan
My
Smith.
goodness.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
a guy that never should have fallen to them. Boy, if I'm a Cowboy fan right now, I'm feeling like we normally feel when this happens for the
This is
Steelers
not-
or the Ravens.
I mean,
They should not be able to get Nolan Smith. There ought to be a law.
wow.
There ought to be a law.
That's some quality players there.
Yeah. By the way, and Witherspoon having gone 5 to Seattle, to a team that really could
Number
use a force
5?
multiplier. Yeah, but again, if there's a team that could use that defensively, it's them. Legion of Doom don't live here anymore, so,
You know, I gotta tell you, right off the top, Philly, they might have took it this first round.
I mean,
good grief.
like it said on the graphic there, you pair him up with Hassan Reddick, or maybe, since it's NFL Network, maybe they were making the lazy comparison to Hassan Reddick because he plays for them.
Well,
So-
the one thing I was gonna say about
can
Smith, as far as his edge rusher, I don't see him really accomplishing that much as far as the NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the weight, but he really don't. I tell you what, when it comes to running down players, you see that
SEC
play.
speed.
He's legit. He's
Yeah.
legit. But no, getting back to Nolan Smith, the
Yeah.
one area of his game that seemed to get highlighted, but when I watched the tape, was as far as his pass rush efficiency, really wasn't that good.
Well,
But I don't think that's what they're bringing him in to do.
some of these are things that can still be
He's
improved.
see-ball, run ball,
Yeah.
attack ball.
Right. Some of these are things that can still be
Wow,
improved.
look at that. Jalen
coached up.
Carter and freaking
But
Nolan
it's-
Smith. That's,
They've had, and I'll tell you too, when they got into Kobe Dean, I mean, it's a thing, and I know that like he didn't have a Pro Bowl season right off the bat,
Yeah.
but it's like him
Well-
dropping to them there was one of the great values of last year. I just could not believe that he dropped to them the way that he did.
I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could pull it up. I had him in the third round.
Did you? Okay, all right.
But I mean, it's still. As
And the pattern
quality.
continues as I go
Well-
to put over a guy, and you're like, I didn't really think much of him, Rick, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
That's okay, man. It is what it is. You have your opinions, I have mine. It is what it is. It makes it funnier.
yeah, it really does.
It does.
You mean like by Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I was.
Is he still out there?
I'm thinking this is 15, 20.
Yeah.
I said, wait, what the heck?
Well, that was on me for not having that because
No,
I
I
mean
just.
you sucked me into that vortex. I'm like,
'Cause
well, I guess he is still out there.
At one point, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not really seeing the context of what's
Right.
going on. I'm thinking
I'm
we're
supposed to-
past 15.
I'm supposed to provide the quality control, but you had me sucked in. I'm like, yeah, why is he still out there? And then like when I found out that he wasn't, I couldn't
And then
get your.
I remember when
I'm
I
trying
said,
to like,
I remember when I said
dude.
about Seattle, and you were like, no. I'm thinking, no.
Right.
I'm thinking, dude, this is perfect. You know what I'm thinking? Like,
Of
and
course they're gonna take
and
Richardson
then
here,
you were
Rick.
like going like this again. I'm going, what? And then it hit. I'm like, oh.
Any
boy.
attempt at subtlety had to go out the window.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was flying right over your head with that.
But now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You might be better on this one. I'm not so much with the coaching staffs and all that kind of stuff. But do you think that's a good fertile ground, the Colts, for a landing spot for Richardson?
I think so. I mean, Reich as far as developing. I mean, but it's been kind of hit and miss though, right?
No,
Because, I mean,
Reich's gone.
that's right.
with Carolina,
Stryker
I
is the
think,
guy,
ain't he?
right? From
Yeah.
now, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
bad. Yeah. Then now I don't know what to make of it because
Yeah,
I mean, well, look, he was. I guess you say he was, helpful in the development of Hurts.
well, you'd have to think so. I mean,
Yeah. So, I guess, but that's not the longest track record in the world. You were successful as an
they got a
offensive
lot of
coordinator
pom-poms,
once. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Going on it.
I mean, listen, I like his odds a heck of a lot better than Jonathan Gannon's, quite frankly, as head coach.
You know what I just thought about? Who didn't get picked?
Who?
One of our quarterbacks. I mean, at this point, it is getting a little ridiculous.
Please don't say Richardson.
No. No.
No, Levis or Hooker. You could be talking about Levis or my guy Hooker.
Either one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting late in the ball game to where now.
Well,
Well, we're
Safe to say, unless this is a trade out of the position, it ain't going to be
wow.
that. Now, this would be an interesting thing. If you're one of the quarterback-hungry teams at the top of the second round, you should be on the phone right now.
Yeah.
You should be. Because this is a thing where, listen, I didn't see Lamar Jackson as that guy at the time, but the Ravens did. A guy who fell and shouldn't have fallen.
The
but-
Chiefs.
yes.
What do you think? What do they need? What do they need?
Well, we can rule out quarterback,
Wide
I believe.
receiver. Wow. Well,
But-
let me see. No, I don't think
Wide receiver, they've been picked over a little
Safety
bit.
now. O line. Is there anybody of?
So, I mean, sort of like up the middle of their team, offensively and defensively,
Trying to
or
think.
wide receiver. And look, they're
Schmitz. What about the center? That'd be a pretty good.
yes,
I
That
mean,
would be.
I'm trying to,
that would be. But
they can go a lot of ways with this. They can.
the interesting thing is, and this is the
Maybe
last.
they should trade out.
Maybe. Well, here's the thing, and maybe this is the last time anybody has mentioned Aaron Hernandez in a football context in a long time. But
Hell of a
Hernandez,
player.
yeah, Hernandez and Gronk. Do they go for Michael Meyer here? Maybe.
I'm all in agreement for tight end, but did you have to say Michael Meyer, Rick?
I mean,
Are you trying to get my blood pressure up? Because that would just.
yeah.
I really want to see what they're going to do. Because
Okay.
a lot of times with the Chiefs, they are somewhat cutting edge with stuff.
They are.
You know what I mean?
I had them taking Anton Harrison, so that's not happening.
What about linemen that are left? O-line.
Is
Who you
there
got?
anybody that's really any kind of a
Trying to-
value here? I don't think there is. I mean, the offensive line was not deep in first round talent, so
Wait a
don't-
second. What about guards?
yeah. I mean, outside of the tackles who can play guard, I like Paris Johnson. I don't think the first round was not, really a place for guards this year. I mean, it's not a lot of years.
Now, you know
to be
one
honest.
guy that might, I would say maybe. What about that Joe Tippmann? The Wisconsin
Oh, maybe.
guard center,
Maybe.
6'6", 315. I didn't get to check him out like I wanted, like I said, with the old line, but I'm hearing some really good stuff on him.
Well, and I'll tell you, and this is.
What
this
about
is not-
linebacker? Dude,
linebacker,
it's there.
maybe. I'll tell you, not a position of need for them, but in terms of value, again, God, I hate to say it because of his dad, but Joey Porter Jr. could be, right?
Yeah. But you know what I would say though? There's like good 6, 7 quality corners left, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I would pull what I'm trying to think of, a position they need that there might not be a lot of quality left. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to narrow that down. Let's see here. Wide receiver. That's too high for anything right now.
Well,
Defensive. Well, I mean,
unless you believe me and Jason about Hyatt,
well,
which you do not, by the way.
I mean, he fits. He would definitely. They could use somebody that could, stretch the field because they lost. What's his name from free agency that went to.
Smith Schuster left. did
No,
he
the
not?
him and the other one.
Yeah.
Does Hardman.
Oh yeah. I mean, when the Jets signed him, I said to my friend Russ
is
Cohen.
that where he went? Jets?
He went to the Jets, and they were happy about that. Remember, that's what freed up for the Jets to move Elijah Moore to the Browns. And I was
Right.
I'd rather have Elijah Moore than Hardman.
Me too.
But-
I love that one.
I said to Russ, one of my favorite sayings that this is a saying that's been out there in the geopolitical sense. Brazil is the country of the future, and it always will be. I like to apply that to sports. So in this sense, Mecole Hardman is the wide receiver of the future, Ken Bex, and he always will be. Because I say this as somebody who's been a Mecole Hardman owner a couple of times, okay? Take him in the 12th or 13th round and think I'm going to get a value. And here we go.
Wow.
FAU from Kansas State. So getting some help off the edge, that is definitely something they could use. Um,
Is that the defensive end?
yeah. The funny thing is, I had them needing a defensive tackle a little more, so it's a little awkward. But
Because they just took the DM from.
yeah,
Now, the reason I can't say I didn't get the chance to really check him out. I mean, I've heard good things about him, but I couldn't really. He's kind of a little light in the pants. He's going to have to be an edge guy, no question.
6'3", 255. I mean, he's a real tweener between OLB and defensive end. Also, it's a thing where, too, and this is just me being the old school guy that I am, I don't like the vernacular of there's another word, of the last 3 to 4 years of like where they're calling all these guys edge guys.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Just say, if you think
don't
he can
like
play
that.
either, just say defensive end / outside
Versatility,
linebacker.
yes, yeah.
Like, it's not its own category.
Because to
I
me,
hate
edge
that.
is kind of like generality again.
It is,
I
it
don't
is. And
like
by the
that.
way, when you're looking at something like Pro Football Draftology 2023, available on the main page at fantasydrafthall.com, we don't do that.
Yeah,
Jason Jones, who does our ratings, our senior editor,
Yeah.
he has it broken out by defensive end and outside linebacker. And
Which it
frequently,
should be.
there will be crossover. You'll see a guy show up at different
Right,
positions.
right. But you need to be more specific
Yes.
and detailed.
Yes. Yeah, stop with the edge stuff.
Because you can throw a defensive tackle on the edge from time to time.
I'll be the old get off my porch guy. I'm going
Yeah.
to blame it on the Zoomers. These darn Zoomers running around calling
gonna
guys
tell
edge players.
You know, like in my evaluations, you won't see me say a lot of this nickel zone corner. Look,
Right.
like, man, look.
Right.
I mean,
What's
what
that
does
about?
What does that mean, kind of like? I
Right.
know what their definition is. But
Right.
Can he play corner or not?
Right.
Is he inside? How about saying is he inside corner, outside corner?
Right.
But this nickel, you're trying to make stuff up that ain't even.
Totally agree.
Come on, let's don't make this complicated.
Totally agree. And that is the end of the first
huh?
round for Kansas City, and we are coming to. It's so funny that it was just a thing of like, because if you do the math on this, nothing adds up. Like
Right.
the first round is 8 to 11:30. I'm like, how is it going to be done by 11:30 when it's 10 minutes per pick and it's 32 teams, 31 because my Dolphins got pegged for Stephen Ross being an a-hole and they took away a first round pick.
So just think about this: we're only hours away from the second and third round.
That is true. That is true. And right now, there has to be a lot of intrigue at the top of the second round with the quarterback situation with Levis, and then you're gonna laugh when I say Hyatt also, or not Hyatt, but Hooker.
I would even say Hyatt.
Yeah, I mean, well, Hyatt and Hooker.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be guys where there's going to
Let
be
me go through the list. There's got to be a number of guys.
a lot of guys in here, and we're looking at the top
Definitely
available.
Levis, right?
Yeah, the top available players on Jason Jones's big board, which you will find in our draftology guide here. The first one I'm seeing is number 15, Joey Porter Jr., Penn State cornerback.
Wow, yeah.
And 17, Jalen Hyatt, Tennessee wide receiver.
What about no?
Here we go, inside linebacker, Henry 2020 Alabama. Will Levis, number 22, Kentucky quarterback. 23, Brian Branch, safety.
What about these tight ends?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a good three.
Two of the three that I thought could have gone in the first
There's a good 3
round.
to 6 quality left.
Yes.
And I'm being
Yes.
I'm being nice about it.
Yes.
I mean,
Tight end star power available at the top of the second round.
Start rolling.
And that's where
cornerback.
Yeah, and you look at the teams that are picking at the top of the second round. Pittsburgh, Arizona, Detroit, Indianapolis, Rams, Seattle, Raiders. Outside of the Raiders, there's not a team in there I see taking a quarterback. So there's going to be a lot of phone calls getting floated. There's going to be a lot of phone calls.
Could you actually even see Levis going there?
Yeah, I see him going. Yes, and the Raiders going to have to. They have to. If I'm the Raiders, I'm thinking I got to move up to get him because somebody's going to beat me to it. So there is that
I'm really
possibility
intrigued
as
to
well.
see who's gonna snatch him up.
Yes.
Because at this point, what he brings to the table and what I explained about earlier, it's gonna be kind of important where he goes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you're gonna have to have some patience.
You are.
Like Josh Allen.
Yes.
They let him be him for first two, until
Yes.
he figured it out.
And
And
it's
there's
a
nothing
thing
wrong
where-
with that.
Yeah, and look, Garoppolo's probably going to have the attitude of "here I go again," but again, dude,
Well,
you're
I mean-
limited. You're Jimmy G. You're there to be a placeholder until a team gets a better
He's getting paid
quarterback.
pretty decent. to
He's
do
getting
it.
paid
Wouldn't
decently.
you say?
Yeah, to be that guy and do that thing. So this is what we have to look forward to at the top of the second round here tomorrow night. So
No doubt.
closing thoughts on the first round as this thing stretches to midnight. You and I have gone 3 hours on our portion of it here. Again, the way that I'm holding up now, just barely. I shudder to think if we would have gone 8 to 12.
Yeah.
So I am
The masking tape.
I am
Yeah,
limping to the finish
yeah,
line
yeah.
here. But your closing thoughts here, Ken Becks, the scout from FirstDownScouting.com, on what we saw here tonight with the first round, and any winners and losers that jump out. I think we both agree that the Eagles are a
yeah.
winner.
I mean, you gotta say the Eagles off the top.
Yes.
I think to me, I think the Texans.
Yeah.
I mean, C.J. Stroud is and I'm not being biased. I mean he is a foundational piece.
If you get the quarterback, you've won, and that's the whole thing. They did. They got one.
They got good defensive pieces last year.
Yeah.
That's offsetting in a good way.
Yes.
They got a good defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't know. He could be another Lovey Smith for all we know. I mean,
Well,
and I'm not trying to put Lovey.
Yeah.
But I think to me, as long as you got a good offensive coordinator, that's a good balancing act.
Totally agree.
That's a good balancing act.
Yes.
So I would say, off the top, the Eagles, the Texans.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't see any real winners necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, as far
I
as
didn't
like,
see anybody make major mistakes. There
yeah.
were some reaches, no question about it. But
Mhm.
put it this way: I didn't see anybody get picked to where you go, "Where's he from again?"
Yeah.
I mean, if I got to do that, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You don't want that kind of stuff.
That's the thing. Like I didn't have too many instances of feeling blown away by, oh, what an amazing value, or wow, that's
like
such a
Zay
reach.
Flowers.
Yeah.
Okay, to me, he was a bit over, but he's a good player though.
Well,
If they
yeah.
maximize who he is,
Yeah.
it'll be okay.
Well,
you see?
and look, and in a world where Bateman and Beckham are able to return to some semblance of what they're expecting, absolutely. Having him as like the guy destroying people in the slot, yes. I
You
mean,
might be able to do it.
in my mind's eye, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see that
I like
happening.
Quentin Johnson.
Yes.
Johnston going to the Chargers.
Yes.
I don't see where that's going to be bad at all.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to say about him real quick, he was a hard guy to evaluate.
Yeah.
Because he was, boy, sometimes he looked like he was running a 4.3. And, boy, that ain't that a sight? They're showing Levis right now on the
Yeah.
phone like that. Probably his agent.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting with Johnson because the Chargers always, to me, seem to have kind of a stacked wide receiver core, but one that
Don't
is
they?
never the sum of their parts, right? It never is like the sum. Mike Williams is like the ultimate poster child for that because he's kind of a
He
tease.
is good.
He's good, but he's a tease. I mean,
But when you, once again, what do you think when you think of him?
I think of a guy that
he's
should be
good.
elite. I think of a guy that should be,
But he's not.
but
You think, oh, he's good, right?
okay, but like, and I'm not saying they're exactly the same type of player, but I'm saying that like I would have expected him to have like a Mike Evans type career, and he hasn't.
Or a Higgins, even.
Yeah, and he hasn't. Keenan Allen, out of all of those guys, has come the closest to his potential, but I feel like even he's only like 85, 90% of his potential.
Well,
Just the Chargers are like,
the thing with.
they always look better on paper with their
Yeah.
receiving core than they turn
That's
out
where
to
I
be.
go back to Herbert again.
Yeah. But it was like it under Philip Rivers, though.
Well, what I was gonna say is, he's kind of like in a catch-22
Mm-hmm.
because I think he's got quality receivers,
Right.
but they're overhyped who they really are.
Right.
So now when he doesn't get deep in the playoffs,
Right.
it looks more
It
profound.
does indeed. It does indeed.
You know what I mean?
And that becomes an issue for them. So something to be monitoring because again, I'm not buying the hype. I mean, I think the Chargers are a borderline playoff team at best this year. Part of it is because again, going back to as much as I tooled on the NFC and justifiably so, the AFC is completely stacked, and that's the thing where I mean, for a team like the Chargers to stand out, the onus is really on them to show why they should be considered a team that stands out.
I'll put it to you this way: Herbert is gonna have to step it up.
He's going to have to.
I mean, and I'm not even saying to get to the Super Bowl. I'm
Right.
talking about making a meaningful run in the playoffs.
Agreed.
Which I feel a little sorry for the, you know what I mean? Because like
Sure.
it's almost like they're putting too much of the onus on him.
I think so.
He does have quality. Like he does have. Man, how do you say this? You know what they would almost be? Their quality offensive pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but they're overvalued.
Right.
You're,
Right.
you're giving them max contracts,
Right.
And we're going.
Yeah. It was like a good example in the NBA, I feel like, maybe about 10 years plus. 10 years, 12 years ago, Joe Johnson. Like when he was getting like a max contract, like Joe Johnson was not a max contract kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So,
He
that's
could be a piece.
a piece, yeah.
But see, once you start talking in that vernacular,
Mm-hmm.
piece.
Right.
That's not max.
Right. That's the thing. Like the Chargers don't have like a lot of guys in that realm. The one thing I will say though, like and a term that I
That
use,
running back though, what's his name?
well, Eckler is
I
pretty
really
elite.
do think he's like, I don't want to say elite, but he is a high tier guy.
I
He
mean,
is a producer.
he was pretty elite last year though. I mean,
you know what I mean? No, he's
like-
a legitimate producer.
all right. Well, look, okay, he was hurt more at a time than I thought. Only 915 yards, but 4.5 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns.
See, that's
So, I mean, that's pretty doggone
that's-
good right
yeah,
there. Force multiplier, although not healthy as much as you would want him to be. A guy who I put that label on, Derwin James. I feel like that's a guy where when he's healthy, he's a guy who's a difference maker for those around him as well as being a great player.
You know what? They're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do with him
Right.
because once again he's dangling the candy in front of your face.
Yeah.
You
With
know
him,
what
it's
I mean?
all health. It's 100% health. Is he going to stay in one piece?
I think at this point, if you told me I could get a mid-second, I think
You take a mid-second for him? See, I'm
I-
an upside guy. I don't do that kind of crap. I'm an upside guy.
You see, for me, that inconsistency on the field is a killer. It's a killer. It's a killer.
Do you see inconsistency as a bigger thing than the health? Because to me, the health is the only issue.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, how the
inconsistency
availability
on the- yeah.
availability.
Right.
I gotcha.
That's
Of
a
availability. Yes.
I mean-
I don't deny that.
And then the recovery time coming back.
Yes.
See, when you get hurt
Yes.
and they give you a 6 weeks,
Mhm.
then you go, okay, should we give him 8 just to make see, when does it stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if he gets hurt right away, now you're going, should we give him 10 weeks?
It is a tough kind of a thing to have to.
Man, once you
think
get them
of, but
patterns like that, that's
it is.
Is
It
that,
is.
What's his name, the fantasy fella?
I believe so on the screen. By the way, and I started to have this thought before, and then I sidetracked myself on it, but to recommend for you and for anybody else that hasn't gotten a chance to see this, I think you can still find it on Hulu. The great FX sitcom from the early to mid 2010s, The League, a fantasy football sitcom, literally, and it had a great comedic cast on it. And there was one episode, I thought of this when we were talking about Cameron Jordan,
Right.
of this guy who drafted Cameron Jordan and Jordan Cameron on his team, and they had both of them make a cameo on the show to
Oh
see if he
my
could tell them
God.
apart, and he couldn't.
For real?
Like, yeah, like if both of those guys, like the
Do they look alike?
big time? No, but here's what it was a thing of like here's what it was
Right.
was it wasn't so much that couldn't tell them apart in that sense.
Right.
But they didn't play in a format with individual defensive players. So it was a thing where he meant to say, I'm drafting Jordan Cameron because we needed a tight end.
Right.
And then it was just like, oh, but you said Cameron Jordan, you're stuck with him. And then so what the gag was, both of them showed up at at the same funeral that these guys were at, because a lot of NFL players made cameos on the show.
Right.
And then it was like, if you could tell these two guys apart, we'll let you have Cameron Jordan. And he didn't know enough about football to tell them apart.
I tell you what, that's a beautiful thing on the TV. Right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That's the foundational piece.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud to the Texans is what they're
mean-
showing on NFL Network right now, and
Foundational to me.
they put themselves in a great spot here. They absolutely did with getting him. And here's the funny thing: conventional wisdom can be so screwed, because the thought was that Lovie Smith winning that game there at the end just to
Lovie.
spite them as they fired him,
Oh man.
cementing himself as an all-time Bears legend. Guess what? Didn't matter. The Bears,
Yeah.
first of all, the Bears traded out of the spot. Second of all, Houston got probably the best QB at number 2
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
in the case with Young, and this is one of the things I go back to with when the Browns took Mayfield, is I'm not saying that there can never be a small guy in there, but there are so many other things stacked against you. And what I said at the time when the Browns took Mayfield is, there are so many extra complicating factors with a small guy. Do you trust the Cleveland Browns
Well,
to get that sensitive calculus right?
I'm gonna tell you something. I will admit I wasn't the biggest fan of his coming out of Oklahoma, but then I was looking at the plus. I want to say the minus. How do you say the plus factors?
Sure.
What's the opposite of that? The minus factors.
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's late at night, everybody.
I would go like this. I would say, you got a shorter quarterback that don't have any pluses, any great pluses athletically.
Right.
Boy, he better be really good at something.
Yep.
See,
And the only thing he was good at was stirring up stupid controversies. And that's not a plus, by the way. That doesn't go on the pros side of your pros and cons list.
by the
But-
way, I still think Mr. Manziel, had he kept his head straight, had a shot.
I mean, again, another guy that, to me, I was
I really thought,
militantly against.
Well,
Of course, I was militantly for Teddy Bridgewater, although
Really?
history, I will say this, we will
I
never
was never
know.
a Teddy guy.
I was.
Never.
And that to me was like a silly season thing. I remember people were criticizing his ankles. I'm like,
Well,
why are we talking about the man's ankles?
Yeah.
Why are we discussing a grown man's ankles?
Like if you don't think he's good, I get
Right.
it, but you gotta
Right.
come on.
Well, it was his ankles, Deshaun Watson's radar gun throws. I don't want to hear people inventing reasons to be against
Now, if
somebody.
you say
I was a big Bridgewater
the
guy,
S2,
but again,
you know what? The S2 is gonna go down in infamy.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
If he doesn't make it, it's not because of the
I mean,
S2. You get what I'm saying?
I get that, but
I mean,
in
come
retrospect, can we not admit that the Wonderlic perhaps did have something to tell us about Vince Young? In retrospect,
Wow.
we didn't think so at the time. We didn't think so at the
You
time,
know, now I will say
but he
this
didn't pan
about
out.
Vince.
What?
I don't know. Now look, he has superior athletic gifts,
Yeah.
but as a thrower, projecting, I didn't see the processing.
Superior athletic gifts. That and a $1.50 won't even get you a Subway coin today.
But
So
but you know what I mean? Like he did do stuff in college athletically where you're like, wow, right?
yeah.
But like as far as a legitimate passer,
hmm
I didn't see the processing. I
Yeah.
swear I did not see the.
I thought he was going to be a successful pro, but
I thought he'd be at least.
I thought Brady Quinn was too. I will say,
I wasn't happy about Brady.
in the 2000s, I think I had a
didn't.
ways to go on evaluating quarterbacks. I was
Well,
not.
we all had to.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's where, and again, I got locked onto Bridgewater, but it was a thing where you have to remember the caliber of prospect that Bridgewater was, hyped as being, and it was a thing where, by the time it came time for the Browns to draft, and they passed on him twice, And I'm like,
Did they? I don't remember that.
well, the earlier pick, as much as everybody wants to harsh on the Manziel pick, which was stupid, but the earlier pick with what's his nuts, that Gilbert guy, that was
yeah.
the cornerback that didn't pan out, that FDH contributor Bob
Wow,
Bennett,
that
my
was
close
a bad
personal
one.
friend, he said that guy was going to be a bust. I didn't believe him, but he was right. My friend Bob Bennett
I didn't
nailed
think
that.
he'd be a bust like that.
My friend Bob Bennett called it.
No,
and
his
he was the
character
only.
was horrible.
Well, just that, like, he just didn't believe in him as a player, which I didn't hear anybody saying. Like,
Now-
Bob stuck his neck way out, and he
Now,
was right.
Athletically, he
Yeah.
was gifted. There's
Well,
no question about it.
He
But
never put it together, but like, so they passed on Bridgewater twice, and my thing was that, like, the Browns spent a season where it was like, you know, if you remember, like the 2013 season, like they limped through, they got enough wins, whatever, and then it was like, oh crap, like we're playing our way out of the chance to get Bridgewater, and then it was like you had a chance to get him twice, and my whole thing was like, where do the Browns get off thinking they're too good for Teddy Bridgewater?
Right,
Like,
right,
I just
right.
didn't understand that on any level. And I'm going to say, in all fairness, that to an extent, we'll never know what the man's career might have looked like because
Teddy?
Teddy Bridgewater, because I'll tell you this. The whole thing of that devastating
I don't
injury.
know, Rick. I don't know, Rick.
Dude,
Rick.
the man almost lost his leg, and I'm gonna give you a little inside info here because FDH Lounge dignitary Chris Galloway, he would probably rather that I classify this as a good friend of his at the time,
Right.
who was a nurse. Like she was able to like pick up from like what they were saying on TV. You remember that like the devastation involved. Like teammates were like praying in practice and vomiting and whatever. Like Chris was telling me that like from the info that he was getting from his friend, this nurse, it was mostly the skin holding his leg.
No, I heard that.
Yeah, and it like, but
could visibly
you think
see
about what that entails though. Severed nerves. Probably. Like, who comes back from severed nerves, buddy? You know what I mean? Like,
but Rick.
who comes back from what he came back from?
But before that, he did look like a notch
he
above
was
assistant.
he was up and down. He was up and down. You're right about that.
You know who you sound like you're describing right now?
Who?
Hendon Hooker.
I hope not.
I hope not.
I hope
to be
not. I
honest
want to
with
see
you.
the guy get it done here. I mean, unless he goes to the Squealers or somebody, but which by the way, should Kenny Pickett be reason enough not to?
Wow.
I don't want to give them any ideas for as much as I hate Pittsburgh.
Now,
but
you know what I will say?
What?
They're in a pickle.
Yeah, they kind of are.
Wow, because like
Yeah, but you know what?
he's not a plus multiplier.
No, he's not. Yeah, to say the least.
He is
Which-
not a plus
force multiplier. But here's the thing. You know what it is? Here's the analogy I have. That for anybody who, and again, just because I'm a Browns
Is it
fan,
a force multiplier?
Yes,
I like
that's
that's multiplier.
well, you can say,
I'm
all right,
gonna use that one.
plus multiplier can be your term. Force
Yeah, I like
multiplier is
that. I
all
like
right.
that.
So we each have
So
one
he's
now.
not a multiplier.
In
That's
any way.
the bottom line.
He might be a shite multiplier,
Well.
but you know. But here's the thing, though, and
he
that
brings
this is
the
the thing.
donuts
Like,
every day.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that could help.
just because I'm a Browns fan in exile right now doesn't mean I don't carry the scars of, since this team
man.
came back and further and from when I was rooting for them. So I've lived under the tyranny of the Steelers being ascendant, there's another word, and the Patriots. Here's what I love about today is that the Patriots have gone from Brady to Mac Jones. In Kenny Pickett, the Patriots have their Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. May they stay with him as the Patriots have stayed with Mac Jones.
yeah.
Just out of spite.
Because
Yeah.
pick it.
Yeah.
Because here's it.
He'll show you flashes.
No,
He'll have some games.
But man,
he's not the guy. I mean,
they are screwed.
they are screwed. It's
Because
beautiful.
he's just young enough. You can't give up right
Yeah, but
now.
here's the thing, though. Top of the second round, you got Levis and Hooker sitting there. The Steelers always get bailed out by the rest of the league in the draft.
You know, I tell you something.
I've whined about this all night, literally.
Think about this now.
What?
If you're the Steelers
Mm-hmm.
Do you make a trade to get Levis?
You don't have to.
Or one or the other.
You don't have to. You're sitting at 32. You just sit there. Yeah.
They got the next pick?
Yeah.
Wow.
If Wikipedia is to be believed, which, by the way, funny thing about the FDH Lounge, Wikipedia is sometimes not to be believed, but like only when we're having pro wrestling guests on the show. Like there are 2 different times that I asked a guest something about his career, only to find out that somebody had falsified their Wikipedia page and it was not true.
Which anybody can edit.
Yes. And also, I will say, in the earlier days of the FDH Lounge, when the show was more like the Wild Wild West, something that we couldn't do in today's climate, but in the early days,
it was Wild Wild West.
In the early days of the show, something conceptualized by Jason Jones and his wife, our entertainment editor Samantha Jones. The 2 of them had conceptualized something. I slapped the name on it. It was called the I'd Hit That Draft. And it was a thing, they had come up with the idea of a draft for gauging the attractiveness of female celebrities. So one of the ones, before we had to abandon this because of the changing mores of the time, one of the ones we did was a MILF draft where it was like 40 and over. Well, station owner Paul Belfi went in and falsified Jenny McCarthy's page. Yes, he falsified Jenny McCarthy's page so it showed her as being over 40, so he could draft her. Because she's since passed that and then some. But at the time, she was not.
She still ain't real bad though.
No, they holding up well, all things considered.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing: is that by the time of the draft, he went to take her. And whoever was running the boards, I think it was Anthony Petrone, he was like, she's not 40. Right. And then Belfi confessed to it. Damn it, I went in there and changed the Wikipedia page. And it was
Paulie Belfi, huh?
Just the cheat to win a MILF draft. Like, you got to be kidding
That's
me.
bringing some names from the past.
That is, yeah. But listen, hey, it's fitting to go old school here tonight because, like I said, this is not a mini episode. We've done mini episodes since leaving the station in 2011, and we are up to 1612 of them. But we went old school tonight. This is episode 153, and it is the 2023 Pro Football Draft Show brought to you by, of course, FirstDownScouting.com. And my great friend, the proprietor of it, FDH Lounge dignitary Ken Becks. Ken, before we wrap this thing up here tonight, I mean, talk about what you got going on there. You know, you were the greatest football evaluator that I know as far as running a site and doing things here and everything. So, anything you want to put out here. This show here tonight is sort of emblematic of where you're taking that and going with it and expanding your brand further.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I definitely want to collaborate with you with the chat.
Yep.
What do you chat? I'm going blank. It's good.
The AI stuff. Yeah,
we definitely gotta.
Yeah, we're gonna be ass deep in that.
But moving forward, I definitely would like to get my stuff out there to a bigger audience.
Yep.
Because over the years,
Yep.
I really haven't. I'm more underground.
Yeah.
Let's face it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind getting out there more to the people out there, so I actually can get more of the people I know that are quality out there.
Right.
And so, really, that's what the FDH is. FDH Lounge is all about, and the dignitaries.
Yeah.
Is helping one another because once one of us break through.
Yeah. There you go. And I don't want to be the hipster talking about FirstDownScouting.com.
Right.
I want to be the normie talking about it.
Right,
I want to be of course, Rick. It's obvious. Everybody knows how great First Down Scouting is.
You know what I'm really doing? If we could do some more of our live stuff.
Yes. And this could be a jumping off point here for us tonight.
Yeah.
This came together on relatively short notice because it was a thing where.
We didn't plan it.
Auld Lang Syne. The brother reached out to me about the beginning of the year, my old buddy, and said, hey, let's get back doing some stuff here. We had a discussion in the first couple of days of the year, and we knew we wanted to do something here tonight. And as we were getting closer, this was the form that it ended up taking. And it's a collaboration that I am tremendously proud of because I cannot think of anybody better to do anything
and Jason,
with
you're
than
next.
you. Jason,
I talked to
I wish to
Jason
God
next.
Jason still lived out here because
Oh,
we'd have
man.
him here for this as well.
That'd be
As we go
beautiful.
along, we'll patch him in doing Zoom
No, we
stuff.
talked about a few things. Yeah.
We're gonna be doing some other things here as well. So this is the beginning, not the end of moving
Right,
in different
right.
directions. We're already with the FDH Lounge. For anybody who's been checking out our channel, we've been getting into some of the shorts out there, delving into our history of things. I've got a flood of Bob Barker stuff actually ready to come out in May and
Bob,
June.
yeah.
Some shorts from his 7 appearances on our show. Not to brag, but 7 appearances.
Right.
And I've been doing some stuff, putting out some of our greatest guest moments and everything like that. So much more to come from my close personal friend here, Ken Becks, and myself. Nobody better to bring on than the scout, Ken Becks. I, Rick Morris, the managing partner, FDH Lounge and FDH Enterprises, very proud to have him here, to be collaborating with him and all the great folks in the lounge. So,
And to everybody else out there,
yep.
have a good rounds 2 through 7.
Yeah. Go out there, improve your teams,
That's
guys,
right, that's
and
right.
we'll see. And the Scout and I will be breaking it down in various forms here moving forward. I want to thank everybody out there in the audience for having checked us out. As I said, it was 12 years in the making,
Yeah,
but we
no
finally got
question.
around to episode 153 of the FDH Lounge. Thank you so much.